Welcome, everyone. Dr. Anthony Criniti IV here, also known as Dr. Finance. You're on a Dr. Finance Live podcast. We're here with an incredible guest today. We got Joe Ingram here in the house. Joe is one of the top salespeople in the world, especially in the automotive industry, and he's going to teach us a lot of great things today. So, Joe, welcome. How are you, sir?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you, Doc. Appreciate you allowing me to be on the show and connecting with me. It's been fantastic. You are a wealth of information, so I'm truly honored to be on the show.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right, and just to describe the weather scene here in Philadelphia, we got a record heat wave going on. So it's actually 105 degrees outside. Very interesting weather pattern. Joe, where are you at? Where are you located right now?
I'm down in Carlsbad, California, so closer to the San Diego side. I'll tell you, it's probably 68 degrees, sunny, blue skies, no clouds. Yeah.
Wow. That sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah. Well, appreciate you, Joe, coming here, and definitely looking forward to getting to know you. So Joe has been a regular on Clubhouse for a long time now, and this meeting is definitely overdue. So I had to get you on here, Joe. Appreciate you saying yes. So let's start out with a quick snapshot. If you want to tell everybody about yourself, maybe 30 seconds or less, and then we're going to get into your story as well. Thank you, Joe.
Absolutely. So, husband, father, sales genius. That's just the 30-second synopsis. No, born and raised in California. I've been in California my whole life. I travel all over the US and Canada for clients and doing business. Kids are grown, out of the house and working on being successful. So it's a good thing. My wife's in sales. I'm in sales. Most of the children are in sales. So it's definitely lifeblood for us that you got to know how to sell something, and you know how to hold your own in a group environment. So, but that's me.
That's awesome. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. All right, Joe. So we're going to step back. Where are you originally from? And you want to describe your early years, maybe 10
Sure.
or under?
Sure. I was born in Anaheim, California, so right down the street from Disneyland, which explains why I'm going to be a little goofy today. But so born and raised in California. My parents were, as far as I remember when I was growing up, they were business owners. So my father owned gas stations, and I was pumping gas since I was 7 years old. Way back in the day, for anybody who's younger, people actually would pull up and pay more per gallon to have someone like me go pump the gas, so they didn't have to get out of their car. So that was optional in California, where I know back east places it was like mandatory, they had to do it. But out in California, it was something you would pay extra to have somebody pump your gas for you. But ever since I was 7 years old, I was pumping gas, washing windows. I used to go to work before school. So I would go in to the business. We'd get up at like 5 a.m. We'd be down at the station at 6 o'clock in the morning, and we would, I'd pump gas until we had to leave just before 8 o'clock to get to school. And then Dad would go drop us off at school. Then what would happen? Mom would pick us up after school, drop us back off, and we were pumping gas, washing windows, checking oil, doing things like that. So it taught my brother and I a really, really strong work ethic, which has helped a lot in life going through, just because some people don't have that. And it's easier to outshine somebody when you have one they don't. My parents, let's see, so growing up somewhere around middle school, like 7th, 8th, 9th grade, my parents decided that they wanted to become foster parents. So up to that point, it was just my brother and I. And then my mom said, nope, I got my boys. I want to help other children that don't have it as fortunate. And we're going to end up becoming foster parents to girls only under the age of 4. And so my brother and I had no idea what it was for, but she said this is what we had. So throughout my life, I had like 20 little sisters that came through our house. So the foster organization would put them in. Sometimes they were there for a week. Sometimes they were there for months. But I got to see what bad people do. And we got the children that were the result of the bad things people did. And so it taught me going into high school, you don't trust anyone. There's no one to trust. It's really bad that what people would do. But our first foster child came in. She was 8 months old. She had 7 broken ribs. She had her arm in a cast and broken blood vessels in her eyes from being hit so hard. And so she came to our house. We have this little baby that's coming in. That leans onto a cast because the cast is on her arm. And we had to go through that. We learned about visitations from the parents, all this other stuff. And it really gave me this jaded outlook on life, because it meant, there were people that do really crappy things to people. And prior to that, very sheltered, not understanding a lot of there's really bad things other than some stuff you watch on television. But so it got us to that one. She went through, we had her for 2 years. It was dad's first little girl kind of deal. And then the court gave her back to her mother. And that was after 2 years of going through, every time there's a visitation, the child would go through nightmares. And it was just grueling to sit there. And, me at the age of 10, 11, 12, dealing with the fact that there's a child screaming bloody murder. And this child could not understand that she was not back where she was. And so it would be, my mom would get up, go over, pick the baby up, walk her around the whole house, open up every door, show her everybody that's sleeping. So I know when my door opened, I still to this day, if someone touches my doorknob, I'm jumping. And so it's like my mom would open the door and show her that this is my room. Look, here's Joey. He's sleeping. Look, he's there. And then she would walk in, hand the baby over to my dad. Then my dad would go do the same thing and walk all the way around the house. And then I knew it was my turn. So after dad came into my room, it was my turn to take her and walk her through everybody's room. One of the shortcuts I had was that I could take her downstairs and show her the dogs. We had German Shepherds outside. I'm going to tell you, nothing makes a home more like a home than a big old dog sitting there. So, but that always helped to snap her out of it more, because evidently she didn't have a dog wherever she was before. But this would go on for 2 weeks. And then we would get 2 weeks of everything's just calm and nothing else. Then another visitation. Visitation comes in, we start all over from the first night of that visitation all the way through. And it just continued. But I had little sisters of every nationality. We had, my mom spoiled everybody because she realized they had rough life getting to us and what have you. And then we ended up adopting 2 of those 20 that went through the house, and they're my sisters today. So, but to me, that was me early on. I chose to lash out. I was never like the really bad kid. I was always the class clown because I watched it happen. I watched when I was at the gas station, my parents bought one at the bottom of our tract of homes. So it was really easy to get there. And I remember working in the morning and having people that got off the freeway to go take side streets to roll down, to pull up into the gas station, honk the horn for my dad to come out and give them the joke of the day. Right. And so they'd come out, Joe, I need the joke of the day. He'd come out, he'd tell them a joke, they'd laugh, they'd go, I'm going to use that at work. And then they would go down the road a little bit and get back on the freeway to go. But I'm like, they were like legit taking a mile and a half out of their commute to make sure they got a joke of the day. And, internally to me, that just meant if you could bring humor to somebody, they'll go out of their way for you. And I was like, okay. And it's all about what do you make people feel? So that ultimately helps me later on when I decide to go the route of sales. But I ended up going to school, becoming an electrical engineer, worked aerospace right out of, after my 2 year, I started as an intern, started working through, and I was there probably 3.5 years before I got promoted to management. And so everything I learned in school on what to do was no longer relevant, other than I needed that product knowledge or that system knowledge so that I can do that. But it's always been managing people. And so it's always been that diversity. I had employees that had worked there 2 years longer than I had been alive. that were reporting to me. And so to me, it was just a big change, and having to learn on the fly in your 20s how to manage people that were in their 40s and 50s was, you know, a big shake for them and me to go in there. But it was, I contribute all of it to my work ethic. I ramped up really quickly once I got into aerospace, and it was just because I could get stuff done. I can get stuff done faster than most people. And it was always looking for the efficiencies. And that's, to me, was just it was a challenge. How can I get this done faster without compromising quality? And I still look at that at every client I go to today is always the same thing. It's like, how do we get the same result or better, but with less manpower or less time consumption, so that I can get more produced out of this without it? But
thank you, Joe. That was a good 20, probably 30 years right there. So
oh yeah, absolutely. That's exactly correct.
I'm going to step back for just a moment. You've got an incredible story. So working at the gas station, I find that interesting. I didn't know that part about you, which really connects the dots to how you landed into the automotive business. You see in cars as a kid all the time, right? Yeah. So
absolutely.
Yeah, here in Philadelphia, we actually got self-serve. I was just talking to someone about this yesterday, and in New Jersey, you go across the bridge and you have full serve. And being from Philly, I get out of the car all the time. They're like, "Sir, get back in your car." I'm like, "Why?" They're like, "We pump your gas for you." I'm like, sometimes I just do it anyway, right? But
right.
but
I was already in the phase. I'm already there. I'm in motion. You can't stop me once I get going. Yeah.
But there's definitely a need for what you were doing. Like, you know, there are some places that do both. If you want the option, you pay a little bit more, and that's where your job was.
Right.
So that's an incredible background. You already got basically a lot of business sense as a young kid. So how long did you work at the gas station for when you were younger?
So
What was that
I
like?
started when I was 7. I finished when I was 19. So I spent 12 years in. I will tell you, on my 21st birthday, it wasn't like, "Ooh, you get to drink." I'd been over a year out of the gas station. And on my 21st birthday, I looked down at my hand and I said, "Look, there's no grease." Right. And it was forever that I had always had these black lines in my hands from all the grease and everything that was in there, because, you know, of course I pumped gas when I was younger. Then I started working on cars at the same time, and it was in the back. So I could go, you know, pull a clutch out of a car. But my father was an absolute car nut, and both my brother and I took that car nut, you know, drive with us. We both are just absolutely crazy about cars, and old classic cars or anything new that's got the technology. So I'm a total car nut. So being an electrical engineer didn't matter much. But, you know, by the time I was 26, I bought my first Corvette. And so when I bought my first Corvette, everybody was like, "What are you doing?" And I explained to everybody, I said, "Look, the way I live, the way I drive, this is a midlife crisis. If I make it past 52, it's, hey, I don't see it. I literally don't see that I could make it past that." And so that was last year I turned it. So I've already made it. Yes, I'm past it. But I really I could never see the vision of the whole growing old kind of thing. So it was, let's get in here. Let's just do whatever we could do, the most that we could do. And working with people, right? I made a bunch of mistakes, especially being younger and not having the life experience of knowing what you should say, shouldn't say, and, you know, how people may misconstrue things. So I learned the hard way going up. But I was running like 2 manufacturing divisions for an aerospace company, responsible for, you know, millions of dollars worth of budget. And I had probably 35, 40 employees that worked for me, and we were running 24 hours a day building stuff. And the big life lessons I got out of this was that because it was aerospace, biggest contractor is the government. So we would be working, and it was, you got to get it done, got to get it done, got to get it done. And we're just, everything's going crazy. And then all of a sudden we have a hiccup in the world, and everything says, okay, everything stops. and then we have a stop, and we don't know if this stop is going to be a week. We don't know if this stop is going to be a month. And so it went back and forth. But my whole time working there, I started as an RF technician, mastered that. And since I don't like to be bored, I started learning everybody else's job. So when all of a sudden everything constricted and they said, guess what? Presidential change, every budget we have is on hold. So we're going to do a mass layoff. And so there's 2 divisions that I worked in had 30 people in it, and it went down to 3. And I was the youngest person as far as time in the company that was one of the 3. And so it got really small. So then as everything did, so we laid everybody off. And then it was like the pattern became, you're working for a year, then something happens, you're going to lay everybody off for a couple months, and then you hope you can bring them back when the budget gets redone again. And so it was one of those, so that I moved up into management really quickly because of the fact I was one of 3 people when we started to build back up. And as we started building back up, the manager that I had moved on to a different division. There was nobody to run this one, but since I had learned everybody else's job, it was a natural fit to say, okay, we're going to make him supervisor. Then it was like, okay, now you're team leader, whatever the numbers were, or the names, whatever they came up with. It was just here's more responsibility, here's more responsibility. And then I ended up becoming the division leader, and then they added the second division to it. So, but to me, it was, and I was driving to work. I've always, as a car guy, you don't have an issue with driving. So I was driving an hour and 20 minutes to work, and then an hour and 20 minutes back, and working 12, 14-hour days. So work ethic was there, but it was just a challenge as far as having a life outside of work. And that was always the big thing, was, do you have a life outside of work? And I was like, why? Nobody pays me outside of work. But it was definitely one of those things. So
Joe, just want to pause on that for a second. So that's an incredible story. And I'm always fascinated with car guys, because I grew up kind of the opposite. Like I was a real estate guy. Like I grew up watching my dad go every Saturday, check out houses. So I was 7 years old carrying concrete bags, entering shell properties that were falling apart and scoping it out. You ask me how to fix a car, forget about it. Like I don't know how to do that stuff, because I entered a different space. But the car guys I know, it's kind of the opposite. They don't know anything about houses.
Right.
But they go together. There's a lot of similarities with the 2 businesses.
Yeah, within the industries themselves, yeah, they're very symbiotic in the fact that you look and go, we do the same things, but we're just have a different product type that we're playing with. And I see that with sales everywhere, that it's, your sales processes are all typically the same thing, but it's all just depends what the product is, and you may move a couple pieces around. But now my brother's a realtor, my mom's a realtor, and so it's nothing I've ever had the notion to, but mine's always been cars. So
you fix cars too?
I used to. I haven't got dirty in years. So, and I'll tell you, today it's more about being a computer technician than it is about being a mechanic. But the mechanics of things, yeah, I got that. I understand how everything works, what's supposed to be doing, the direction things are spinning. But when it comes to your average car today, has something like 26 computers on it. So wow. You figure if you have an issue with your laptop, multiply it times 26, and that's what could be, the problem.
So the new mechanic is really a computer engineer.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hence where you ended up, doing a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
It was just a natural progression.
It is. And so to me, it was, and again, I was always the play with the car, work on the car kind of deal. But it was later on, after several different ventures, that I ended up in the actual automotive space. And so to me, I love it. It's just such a game. But
so Joe, want to step back. So you had 20 adopted siblings, and you ended
20
up with
foster. 20 so foster is the temporary. They come in, right? They tell you we want you to provide them with a safe environment and a good place, but don't become attached. So I don't know how you don't become attached to a child that's living in your house, eating at your table, kind of thing. But
right, it's like putting a cake in front of you and saying, "Don't eat it."
Right, exactly. Or here's a puppy, hold on to it for a week, but don't become attached.
Right.
What? Yeah. How is that possible?
So you had 24 plus foster kids in your house, but two of them you wind up adopting, becoming your real sisters permanently.
Yes. Yeah, correct.
Okay.
So
I wanted to step back on the trust thing though. So obviously you learned how to be very careful of who you trust, but in some points in life, you know, you do have to trust people. It's just you trust them initially. You know, you're saying that you don't want to have, you got to be very careful. Is that what you were trying to say when you say don't trust people?
So as a child, when you grow up, you instinctively trust until that trust is broken. Okay. And so then later on, you have a choice to become jaded, which is trust no one.
Yeah.
Okay. Or am I going to give you small things that I can trust you with so I can build up to the big things? And so for me, seeing that these children that were coming that were hurt and, you know, that were mistreated by adults, and not being, you know, at 10, 11, 12 years old, you're not emotionally stable enough to understand all of this stuff. Right. So at that age, it was, we didn't do the video games that much just based on my age, but video games were there, but we were outside on our bikes. We were riding bikes. It was, you know, let's go set up bike ramps and go do things. So when it came to how do you handle emotion, the answer was you get out on your bike and you ride until you can't feel anymore and get to that point where you're so physically tired that you don't know what you're truly feeling anymore. But that used to be the process was, I don't understand how to deal with this. Let me go jump on my bike and go ride around until I can get to the point where I can almost understand it. But there was a lot of bad things that happened, and that meant there was a lot of bad people, and I didn't know how to recognize them. So the answer was close off everybody. And so you kept everybody at arm's length away from you. I could still be the funny one. I can still be the life of the party, but it was still, do you have friends? Today, my circle of friends is very small. My number of acquaintances may be large. The following on social media may be large, but who do I actually have a conversation in depth that I can go into things with is a very few amount of people. But it took an actual intentional desire to open up that trust barrier that I had put up to defend myself as a kid, right? A lot of times we take whatever happens, and it took me, when I realized how much I would push people away and do that, I had to start going to learn how your brain works so that I could start understanding how to correct the things that were just a result of life, right? And I'm going to say, there's nothing my parents did wrong. They were legit opening up our home to help children. And so, and it was one of those things where when you look at it and you go, well, why do we have to have little sisters come into our house, right? What's wrong with my brother and I? You know, what's going on? So you had us, now we're, you know, my brother and I are 3 years apart, and it's like, okay, so now I'm 10, he's 7, and you're like, woo, I need to get little girls. It wasn't until I was 20 years old that I found out one night. So I had bought a condo when I was 19. And my fiance and I at the time were living in that condo, and I got a phone call, and I'll date myself because there was a phone on the wall, right? So I picked up the phone. I'm still the generation that goes call, right? Where today you ask a kid, how do you say call? They go, they go this. It's like, what is this, right? And so I'm like, okay. But I was cooking dinner one night and the phone rang, and I picked it up off the wall, and it was my dad. And he's like, okay, hey, are you sitting down? And I said, please, nothing you can say would cause me to sit down. I've been through enough, right? And he starts laughing. He goes, okay, well, when your mother graduated high school, she was pregnant, and her dad made her put the little baby up for adoption. And back in the 50s, they had the right to do it. So it was like, okay, boom. So she wasn't with the father of the baby. She was dating my dad now. And so he said, so as soon as we graduated and everything was done, after the baby was up for adoption, when I met your mom, we went to go try to find the baby. And we couldn't find this little girl that your mom had. And I was like, oh, click, little girl. Okay. And then my dad said, and now the little girl has found us. And I said, oh, okay. And he said, and she's coming to the house tonight.
Wow.
So I wanted to call you to see if you wanted to come over. And again, being a smartass is a hereditary trait in our family. It's a self-defense mechanism. It's just who we are, right? And so to my dad, at that point, I went, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. And he's like, what? I go, the way you guys treated me. I'm a middle child, right? And he's like, shut up. What is wrong with you? And I'm like, Marsha. Yeah. And he was just like, oh, will you stop? And I was like, no, sure, Dad, I'll come over. I'll come meet her. And so, turned off the food. My fiance and I went to the house, went and met my half sister that, was there. Met her once. She spent one holiday with us, and then I haven't seen her since.
Wow.
Yeah. But it was one of those things. So again, still not processing it all in my 20s. When I start to go work on all the self-development stuff and learning how my brain works going through, then it triggered one day that says, oh, she had to put her baby up for adoption, the little girl. This was her retribution. So she was going to provide homes to kids that, were worse off. So that was her way of doing it. So when she said, I had my boys, right? We just want to foster little girls. That was her way of reconciling with herself about what happened and not being able to raise the first daughter. So I got it, but mind you, there was a 20-year gap between living it and actually understanding it kind of deal. But again, that's, to me, it's always been about humor. It's always been about fun. And the more you learn about how the brain works, it makes way more sense for me to do this. Like you and I both friends with Glenn Morshower. And Glenn Morshower says, Joe's the pioneer and the perfection of edutainment. Joe will entertain you while he educates you because he understands it works better. And I always laugh and I say, you're right. And I said, because we've all been to that trainer that just stands there. Okay. So Ferris Bueller, where he goes, Bueller, call and roll in the class. And those so dry and they talk at you and things. And I'm like, I will never be the guy who teaches people that way. I can't be that guy. Because I know that most of the time you're just droning on the person who's talking. And so it took me a long time to figure it out, but people used to always come up, even when I wasn't a trainer, I was actually an employee helping somebody. They're like, you make it so much easier to understand what it is we're doing. You make it so much easier. And I was like, okay, but they're like, we always laugh while we're learning. And that was the trigger point, was I said, okay, so if I get you to laugh, okay, it means you had to drop your ego or your self-identity enough to acknowledge the humor. Okay, and then once that's been dropped, then the information I give, you can decide whether or not you're going to hear it and if you're going to embrace it to the point where you can actually implement it. But I did that. So I did aerospace for 10 years.
Wow.
And it was continuously hiring back people, laying them off. And, you have to look at your employee who's a mom, has 3 kids and a husband and whatever pets at home. And you have to say, hey, I got to lay you off again. But I hope within the next 90 days, I can bring you back. And so it was that constant emotional roller coaster. So I developed really thick skin in the fact that I didn't have to feel it as much as it was. But it was, again, what did I do with employees? It was like, okay, let's keep you at arm's length. Let's keep everybody at arm's length, because it's easier to make business decisions when you don't have relationships in the way. But that was
so Joe, that's an incredible story, and we've covered a lot of topics so far. So we might as well just keep bouncing back and forth. I like this style now. So what happened though after you did the aerospace thing? What part connected you to the automotive business, which eventually led down the road to you becoming the sales genius?
So I was at aerospace, 10 years of constantly the up and down, the emotional roller coasters, the letting people go, bringing them back, so the tears and then the hugs and the happy and all that stuff. And I just got really tired of that. And so I sat down and I said, I need to go find another job. I know I excel more in a team environment and getting a team to produce, because we had outproduced all the numbers that they had ever had prior to me in these two divisions. So I said, okay, I got to start doing it. So I went out looking for jobs. My wife at the time was working in a call center for a payroll company. And so I had gone in several times to coach her boss on certain things when he's like, let me ask you a question. This happened, blah, blah, blah. And I would coach him through it. So I was intrigued with the call center idea. So I answered an ad for a call center down in Santa Monica, and I went down. It turns out to be a law firm. So it's a criminal defense law firm in Santa Monica. So I said, okay, I go down there and I interview with them, and they have 7 interviews that I have to go through in one day. And each interview has a minimum of 2 people in it that are going to interview you. So it was a whole day there, but I made it through all 7 of the interviews to get to that point. And they were looking to hire and build out a call center within this law firm. And they wanted to tweak their sales process to do that. And so I came in, met with everybody. The last interview was 2 people, the owner and his wife. And so I said, okay. And I sat down and I'm sitting there talking to him, and the owner looks and he goes, okay, I'm going to tell you, nobody has got to us yet. We've been interviewing for weeks. You're the only person who's made it this far to get to our opinion of what's here. And he goes, but I need you to understand something. Everything about you says it's going to work. But what I want to say is, we are a criminal defense law firm. We defend people. Some of them are innocent. Some of them did bad things. And he said, and understand, the better we do here, he said, the better we do, the less the public likes us. And I will tell you, this is where I was in life. And I looked him dead in the eye and I said, just so you understand, I'm ethically and morally challenged. Show me the money. And he looked at me. Now, of course, most people are going to go, well, you're perfect for car sales. You should have recognized it then. But no, I sat back and I said, and I told him that, and he goes, okay. And then he started talking more. And I said, look, I'm here because I want to work. I want a job. And I want to do something where there's going to be an impact I get to create. And he was like, okay. I said, but I'm not the attorney. He goes, no. He goes, you're our business development guy. You're going to run the call center, set up appointments. We're going to send out our sales force. We need to channel all this stuff. At this point, the web is new, right? Everybody's on AOL. And so it's like, okay, like you got it. We're out there. We're doing this. This company ran ads in the phone book. So they always had full page ads in a phone book, this and that. And they're like, we're switching to this web thing, and where we're putting our websites out there and we're doing this. And I was like, I get it. Okay, I get it. And so they hired me. I came on board, right? And then what happened was I just took off. So they were doing about 300 grand a month in gross. And within 90 days, we were at $1 million a month in gross profit. We went from 2 states to 7 states, and the management team and I clicked. I hired the right people. We trained them the right way. We went through, and it was all done via phone. So we had an outside sales force, and then I was the inside sales force. So we would take everything that was there, and we would set up appointments for people outside. And so everybody who is outside, retired law enforcement. So they can go in and have real conversations with you about whatever criminal case it was. And then we would go back and forth. And then I talked to the owner and I said, look, there's times we can't get people out to this. And the people that are the road warriors that are, you know, driving all over the place, it's not always easy to do a drive and a conference call with family to talk about getting a retainer for whatever their situation is. And I said, so I want to do those. I want to do phone ones. And he was like, well, let's start doing that. And so then I would take ones that were in the remote areas. And then I started actually getting credit card numbers, collecting retainers, right? And then it was like, oh my goodness, we got to actually send somebody out there to get all the paperwork signed, right? And it's like, okay, do we have fax machines? Let's send over the contracts. Let's send all the stuff. And so we started doing that. And then I started training some of the people that were working for me, and I broke off a separate phone consult team. And so we just, again, it just started blowing up, and we were expanding everywhere, and we were making all kinds of money, and we were doing really well. And I had a couple supervisors that were like my go-to guys, and we'd run the United States, and we would plot points in time and say, okay, this person, hey, I got a DUI in this state. Hey, but I have, you know, attempted murder in Michigan. And we're like, oh my goodness. We run over to the board to go see where, you know, what we had in Michigan and who we can move around. But you would have like 10 things lined up for one day to get the actual driving person so you can make the most amount of their time. And you find 2 appointments into it, and you find a big juicy one, right? A real bad case. And then you would just have to reschedule the whole day and move everything around. So we had giant maps and giant whiteboards all over the place for calendars and schedules and things like that. And so it was fun, and it was dark. I don't know if that makes sense. It was dark. So it wasn't until one of the employees left, right? One of the attorney managers, she left, and then she called back and goes, you have no idea how you're in the dark. You have no idea how it's just a bad funk all around you. And I was like, really? And again, it took one night, because it was almost 2 hours away from my house, the drive back and forth, right? Now, mileage, it was just LA traffic. Mm-hmm. And so for 8 miles, it'll take you 45 minutes, you know, and it's like, so I would leave my house at 6 a.m. so I can get to the office by 8. And then I was at the office, and I wouldn't leave till 9 o'clock that night, so that it only took me 40 minutes to get home. If I left any time prior, I'd still get home at the same time, just sat in traffic for that whole span. And so this is one of the gut check moments, right? They always hit you somewhere. And then this was one of the ones. I was in year 2 while we were there. All of a sudden I take a phone call. It's 10 o'clock at night, and we get a phone call into the office. Now, we normally have an answering service, but I was still sitting there with my trainers, and we were working on a new program I wanted to put in place. And so, or my 2 supervisors. So then person calls in, it's an inmate at a jail in Pennsylvania. And so it's 10 p.m. West Coast. I'm like, so you're calling to talk to your attorney at 1 a.m? I don't think that's going to happen. And we had these little fancy pagers. We could page everybody all over. So we took the call, and the guy said, no, I'll wait. Just keep paging the attorney. So then we go and we text alert the attorney. So while we were sitting there, I said, I wonder what this guy did. And then I walked over to our huge file room that had all the cases we were working on. I pulled his file out, and I looked at it, and I started reading it. And then my 2 supervisors turned around. They're like, what's wrong? And I realized I have just tears streaming down my face reading this guy's case. And so it was one of those things. They're like, what? And it just clicked in me. And I was like, I'm now helping the people that put the foster kids into our house. So I grew up with the let's be a safe haven for kids that got abused. Now I'm sitting here and it's 10 o'clock at night and I'm trying to get some guy to talk to his attorney. And by reading the case file and all of the letters and all of the stuff that was there, he was one of the ones that would put a kid into foster care. Right. And it was just, and I just sat there crying. And I looked at the guys. I said, you know what, guys, I've invested in you over the last year heavy. And they're like, yeah. And I said, you can do this without me. And they were like, dude, boss, don't do this. Don't do this. Come on. And I was like, nope. I said, I need to. So I picked up my cell phone as I walked out the front door and I called the owner. It's 11 o'clock at night. And he answers the phone. He's like, what's going on? And I said, I just want to let you know that I'm done. I got to leave. And he said, I will tell you, Joe, you lasted a lot longer than I thought you would. I was like, what? And he goes, I knew when you told me you were morally and ethically challenged 2 years ago, I knew that wasn't the case. It was just a wall you had built around you. And I was like, wow. But he taught me what commission was. He guaranteed me and said, you're going to get your salary and I'll show you what you could make if you were going to be on commission. Right. Because I had never known anything prior to that. It was, you work hard, you got paid whatever your hours were. When I was aerospace, I was salary based on a pay level. So when I got there, my first month, I made my salary and he said, this is what it would have been if you were on commission. And I went, huh? Wow. So then I said, then flip me off of this salary stuff, right? No. And it was the first time I realized that getting paid what you're worth or what you're doing is the way to always be paid, right? Get paid on the improvement and the results that you bring. So no longer was it that, so Anthony, you were the same pay scale as me, but a different job. And you could just kick back and not do anything. And I'm responsible for 30 people's livelihood and all of this stuff. But because we're the same pay scale based on how long you've been at the company, you have a job that has no pressure and you can come and go as you please. And I'm over here putting in 14-hour days. Right. And then that was one of those maturity moments. It was like, oh, wow. Okay. This makes sense. Right. I'm actually going to be compensated based on what I do and how I put out results. That to me is phenomenal. And so I've never gone back from there. And so it was just those things that click and it came on. So I was like, I love that. And I will always find a way to make the money that's out there. Right. In high school, I did one of those things where I would say, Anthony, you tell your dad that you're staying at my house, and I'm going to tell my dad I'm staying at your house. And then we have all night to go, raise hell, do whatever we want to do. And so the next morning, my dad was at the gas station and my buddy's dad pulled in and he was like, so you had all the kids at your house last night. You never spoke, right? There was language barriers. There was every reason for them never to talk, but yet boom, my dad comes back. So you weren't over at so-and-so's house last night, but he said his son was at our house. How is that possible? Do you want to talk about it? I said, no. And he's like, okay, you're grounded for a month. You're going to wash every car I put in front of you for a month. And I was like, okay. So he started, now we had 7 cars just in our family. Okay. And so it was like, wow. All right. So there was always a car to wash. And then my dad turned around and started talking to all the neighbors, said, hey, Joey's on punishment and he's got to detail cars, everyone I put in front of him. So just go throw your car in line. And we had a really long driveway. So there was all these cars lined up all the time. And so at the end of that month, right, of me learning the right way to wax a car and do all this stuff, right? There was no YouTube then, right? It was one of those things where I said, okay, great. So at the end of that month, I turned around and made myself cards on the little dot matrix printer that you tore the cards off. And I told them all, here's the phone number to the house, leave a message because I detail cars now. And it's X amount of dollars for me to continue giving you the washes and the stuff that you're used to. So I turned it into a business and had that going while I was still in high school, right? To go, okay, I have a business until I went on. Even when I was in college, it was like, okay, come back and do this, right? I'd come back on the weekends and wash people's cars. So, but I made it into a business. So same thing happens over here, is that all of a sudden it's how do I make money, and how do I keep the integrity there, and how do I flex at that point? And so the owner said, all right, I understand completely. Thank you. You've built us a team that can operate without you. That's a wonderful thing. And, you know, the wife is in the background going, okay, we're going to miss you. Thank you so much for everything. Because I mean, they sold the business a year later and retired because it was doing so much volume.
Joe, I'm just curious about that. So the owner, like, you would have thought that he would have got a red flag for himself to personally put down some barriers and realize what he's doing the same way you came to that conclusion. Did he have an ethical compass at all, or was he just didn't care?
He believed that people were paying you for a service, you're going to give them the best service possible. He also believed that there were people out there that were innocent that deserved to have the best representation. And so that's what helped him to sleep at night. And again, I know that there's some people that do it without it, and he wasn't practicing, he was just managing partner, but he had practiced before and had his degrees. I just believe that we all look at the situation we're in and we justify whatever we're trying to do until we can no longer justify it. So I know that money wise, it made way more sense for him to sell it where it was at and retire, because he can do other things with the money. But that whole second year I was there, he was in the office maybe 5-6 days.
Wow.
So it was running right along. And again, when you go from, you know, I'm at 300 grand a month to $1 million a month to $1.5 million a month to $2 million a month, and you're going to get paid blue sky or 5x on your way out. You know, he was like, I can take that and live off of interest. So, but so that, and again, that was fine. And then I looked around and I grabbed the paper and I went searching for a job, and it said call center manager, and it was in Cerritos. And I said, well, I've been killing it for 2 years in a call center. Let me go see what I can find. So I went down, and it was for a car dealership. And so it was for a corporate company that put together, they had hired a company to go build call centers in car dealerships. And so it was a new thing at the time. They called them business development centers. And the answer was, now that things are switching to the web, when you switch to the web, you have to stop and ask yourself, okay, do my guys sitting out front that only deal with people walking in the door, do they know how to handle people via the internet that are now searching, you know, from around our area and beyond? And so it was one of those situations where they said, we need to change the way the automotive space works. So I went and interviewed, went through the interviews, got hired for 2 dealerships from that same corporate entity. And so they were side by side. So I went in as the manager of 2 of their BDCs, the business development centers. They had put a pilot program out for 10. So I was 2 of the 10. They ran it for 8 months. And at the end of that 8th month, there was 3 of them standing. And it was my 2 and one other one that was nearby that I helped because the manager would ask for help. And it was like, okay. And so I got nicknamed at that point that Joe was the BDC genius. So everybody that would call any of the general managers and stuff that were talking to their other friends that are managers of dealerships, and they go, yeah, I'm having a problem with my BDC. They're like, you should call Joe. He's like some BDC genius guy, because ours works really great. Ours works with blah, blah, blah. And it was like, okay. And so I jumped in. So that was the first year. And then it took me 2.5 years to then, from that position. So, and this is one of those things, and Anthony, I know you had it too. Somebody says you can't get there from here, you're going to get there anyway, right? That thing inside you that goes, nice try. And so I asked one of the managers I was working with, and I said, okay, so the guy who sits upstairs that hired me, the general manager, the guy in charge of the whole dealership, they're like, yeah. I go, how do you get to that? Right? And they're like, well, you're the BDC manager. There's no path for that. And I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, you can't get there from where you're at. You're going to have to go take a couple steps down to go down and sell cars. Once you sell cars, then you can get promoted to this position, then to this position. And I'm like, guys, you just gave me like a 15-year plan to get to the office upstairs to the guy I talk to every day. And they're like, yep, that's the way it is. And I'm like, okay, it can't be. It can't be that. Right. And how many times do most people deal with the fact that, well, this is the way this industry is. This is the way it has to be. And it was like, no, it took me 4 years. It took me 4 years before I was the guy in charge of a whole dealership. And so, but again, I got results. And I'm that guy. I'm the sales trainer that comes in and says, I understand you need to have relationships with your clients, but you should develop the relationship because of the results you got. It shouldn't be, I hire you because I like you as a friend. That's why I'm going to let you in, because then I have nothing to prove as I go forward. So my answer is, I'm going to show you, here's the results I got. I want you to hire me because you want these results. Once we get these results, we can become friends because I now am a person who has delivered value. And I only want friends that bring value, right? In whatever area of my life, whether it's going to be, you're going to bring me value because of fitness, of faith, of finances, right? Of anything that's out there. I have friends that bring value in fun, right? That's what they bring. They bring the fun and the energy for me. So that piece of my life, I can go out after it and say, this is the person I do, right? There's people like you, we go, let's talk finance. Why? Because it's right there in your title, Dr. Finance, right? But again, why not go to the person who brings value in that area of your life? And so that's what I always looked at. So I was always going, well, I'll get results. Once I get results, you have no choice but to then want to have a relationship with me because I deliver results. And most people listening are going, yeah, I have that one friend that's just my friend because they were my friend due to proximity. Right? They're close by. They don't bring value. They're just close by. And so I challenge you to say, cut bait. They're holding a spot for somebody that could be bringing value into the areas of your life.
I like that way. They're holding the spot. They're a placeholder.
Yeah, and exactly. And if you keep holding the placeholder, right? They're that little reserved sign on the table at the restaurant, and you're like, there's a party right there that could come sit in and sit here, and we could make some money, but we're holding it for this person. Yeah.
And they're holding the couch.
Yes, exactly.
That's the spot where the placeholder sits.
Right. So
it's brilliant. So you took over, and excuse my ignorance on the positions of the auto industry. I just been, focused on real estate. So I don't know how that works. So you have the general manager. You basically ran the whole dealership, right? Is it GM?
Right. Yeah, it's the GM. So it took, when I started, I was again in the business development center. So that was all we did was take incoming opportunities, do the follow-up that salespeople don't like to do. And we chased the prospects and chased the people to bring them back in. So if you realize most salespeople are great salespeople face-to-face. Okay. And it goes back to the same thing. And this is one of the things I teach on, is that face-to-face, right? We have 3 ways we communicate: body language, tone and inflection, and words. And so if you look at that and say, okay, here's the 3 ways I can communicate. We get really good at being a body language seller because body language is 55% of our communication face-to-face. Tone and inflection is 38%. So that leaves 7% is the words we're using. And so you could get away with using words that aren't contextually correct or aren't properly done because your body language explains the intent, or your tone and inflection gives the impression of what it is you're actually trying to say. And so as people communicate that way, what happens is, right, the industry started shifting. And as they started shifting, the answer was what? I don't want to drive in to come look at something now. I don't want to come into your business to look for something. Currently in real estate, okay, the answer isn't, I want to just go drive around with a realtor for the day trying to find a house. The answer is, I will call somebody, this is what I'm interested in, and I will talk to you over the phone. Then I'll tell you what, send me the listings that you think meet my criteria. And we screen people prior to doing a face-to-face. And so most people in the for automotive, the customer wants to screen the people they're dealing with because the industry had a bad name. Mm. Okay, so the answer is, I don't want to show up. I show up. If I show up, I'm going to leave in a car. I already know it. So I don't want to do that. Yeah. The answer is what? I'm going to call you. Well, if I give my phone to my salesperson who's really good face to face, he's going to be using those 7% words that require his body language, and I can't see him while I'm on the phone. Since I can't see him on the phone, right, he lost over half of his ability to communicate. But he doesn't adapt. Instead, he uses his same 7% words with his 38% tone and inflection that he has, and we get really poor results because we're only operating at 45% potential at that point. And so when you take away body language, it becomes 80% tone and inflection and 20% words. That's the degree of communication. So if you use a 7% word when it's 20% of the value, you're leaving a lot there. Have you ever sat and watched somebody who's giving directions to somebody on the phone? They're like, yeah, what you want to do is, okay, just keep going down the street. Okay, then you're going to turn, right? And you're standing next to them, but they don't know left. Yeah. You got to tell them you're on the phone. Why are you doing it? Right?
Why are you moving your hands? They can't see
right.
your hands.
And I always tell people, I'm like, if you have that friend who keeps dropping the phone while you're talking, it's a body language seller who's using the wrong medium. Okay. And so these are the kind of things you stop and go, okay, so now I have to redo all the words. I have to increase the words to share a 20% value. So I have to get better words.
More descriptive words. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have to get something that doesn't require me physically acting it out. And I get all kinds of feedback from people in the room whenever I do training, and I look at them and I go, okay, well, stop and ask yourself, if I said yes, right? That just triggered something in your brain and go, that's wrong. That's wrong. He shook his head, but he said yes or no. Your brain goes, whoa, stop. And most people will say, well, you meant whatever your body did. You meant when you said yes, you meant no because you shook your head. Right? Everybody on a podcast is going, I don't get it. What's he talking about? Yeah, he's doing visuals. So I want you to understand is that you have to change what you're doing to match the medium in which you're talking in or what you're speaking in. But literally over the phone, it's 80% how you sound. If you've ever called your cell phone provider, how happy are they to answer their 240th call, which is you? Right? They're not. They answer phone, hi, yeah. You mean the world to us. What's your 10-digit phone number? And I'm like, my caller ID is through you. I know you can see it, right? They're like, okay, and what's your super secret PIN? It's like, okay, but they're not there. If you want to find the people that are really good over the phone at your cell phone provider, your cable company, anybody, say you want to cancel. Say you want to cancel. And when you transfer to cancel, as soon as the phone picks up, angels are singing in the background. Right? You're like, what? And this person comes on. Oh my goodness, your cell phone drops. I've never heard of that. Oh my goodness, we have such reliable service. And this person is so happy to be there. Well, they used to be really happy out on the customer service side. Yeah. And because they got compliments, they moved them over to the Save a Deal department, which is get in there and make sure that they're not that nobody leaves. So they've got to be better than anybody else over the phone. But it takes a lot for you to be a face-to-face seller that flips to the phone and understands that. Then we go one step further, okay? And we say, now we go text message and email. Okay, text message and email. What did I lose? I have no body language, and I truly don't have tone and inflection. I just have words. And if you use those 7% words that took your tone and inflection and your body, and you do it there, then what do you say? Nobody replies back. Nobody buys from the internet department. Nobody buys from internet. Those people are all just wastes of time. It's not. You just are giving them 7% words when it's 100% words. And one of the things most people forget is that there is tone and inflection on a text message or an email, but the reader gets to assign it. Okay. And so if you're having a bad day and I text you something, my example is this: have a fight with your significant other, storm out of the house, drive away. They text you a minute later that says, have a great day. How did they say it? Right? How did they say, have a great day? Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, you have a great day too, right? And they're like, that's not how I said it, but I get to imply whatever my feeling is at the time I read it. And so like I will start emails that say, please understand the tone in which I'm sending this correspondence. It is one of helping and seeking understanding. So when you read that, even if you're in a bad mood, you can't flip it to me being ugly or nasty, because I've already set the tone for you to read it.
So Joe, the moral of this story, basically, if you want to be a great communicator, you have to be a master of the form that you communicate. So if you want to, be a master of Clubhouse and audio form, and you strip out all of that unbelievable nonverbal communication that we depend on, you better beef up your reflection, your mastery of words, your tonation, right?
Right. Well, look at yourself, right? You have been on Clubhouse this whole time because you do have a grasp of that. And people are attracted to the fact that when you speak, for example, why do we have to reset the room in Clubhouse? Right? Because I have to bring all of these people that are visually looking elsewhere.
Yeah.
And I go, let's reset the room. Let's bring us all back to what we're trying to do. It's just a way to shake everything back up and say, let's get back on task. And so, but again, it's designed for all those people. Why do they have little pictures of people? So visual people can participate too. Right?
Yeah,
How do we have a rule? Raise your hand, right?
Yeah,
all of
that brings into the whole conversation the different ways we learn too. So you can take everything you said, but those numbers might tweak. If you got a visual learner, we've got to find a way to throw an emoticon in there, or emoji, or whatever they call it, to get them to see something that relates to your verbal message, that it can actually teach them faster. So there's a lot of complexities to this conversation. But Joe, I got a lot of great questions for you.
Sure.
So I just want to wrap up this story, and then I want to get into the question. This has been a brilliant discussion, and the next phase of this is going to be really, really good. So you're obviously, you became an extremely successful automotive guy. Like, you as a GM, first of all, how long ago was that? And then what was your next transition into what led you to where you're at today? Maybe 5 more minutes in the story, and then we'll get it.
So what I did was, in the realm of the dealership, I took over training salespeople for one of the general managers I worked for. So what happened there was I learned what their true steps to a sale was. And then I started condensing them and playing with them, kind of thing. But he said, I want you to train all the salespeople. At that one rooftop, we had 63 salespeople.
Wow.
And we were doing 500 cars a month. And so we were selling 500. Your average dealer sells 100. So we were already 5Xing it. And then the general manager said, ooh, budget cuts. We're going to eliminate the general sales manager. That's the person who's in charge of everybody in the sales department. And he said, we're going to eliminate that position. Then a month or two later goes, Joe, now it's your position. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And so he goes, yeah, you're in charge of this now. So then I became the general sales manager. So I had to ramp up and learn how to do ads and things. But sitting down and going through, I had a fantastic team of people. And within a couple months, probably 5 months, we were doing 1,000 cars a month. And so now I 10x'd everything. Grant. Yeah. So so we 10x'd it on what we were doing and got it there. So then at that point in time, it was like, oh, let me go follow corporate's path on how to become a general manager. So then I went and did fixed operations, which is the service department, body shop, parts, things like that. So I went and set records in that department, and then moved off into, I got hired at another dealership. They called me over and said, hey, I want you to come over and just do the business development center thing. And I said, okay, I'll go over there. More money, I'll go do what I know I'm really good at. I did that for a year and a half before. So I went there. Within 60 days, I got promoted to general manager of that store. So I checked off the box that I was now general manager.
General manager in 60 days, as opposed to the other one was 4 years. And that person that told you it took 15 years. Now you did it in 2 months.
Right. And I was like, okay, got it. Here we go. And so I did that, and I worked at that company for 3-4 years. And then I took over an independent rooftop that he bought for a brand new program. And we did all challenge credit. So I did that one for a year. It took us 90 days to get it up and performing really well. And then I got solicited by somebody saying, hey, I think your experience would be great for this company. And that company was the #1 automotive trainer in the industry at that time. And so they reached out. They said, we don't hire car guys, but you being an electrical engineer, you having the call center, the law firm, this and that, and they go, that appeals to us more, but you understand the industry. So I went and interviewed and got hired. And that was me stepping away from the dealership and got hired into a sales training company. And so, and then what they did was trained automotive place, but I trained the staff that was calling to train, to sell training to the automotive dealers.
Were you salaried or commission?
Both. I had a base pay and then commission. So yeah, so I always want that commission piece to do that. Yeah, so we doubled them within a year. And so then it got to the point of, well, now we want you to go to Russia, right, and train in Russia, and you'll go for 1 month out of every 3. Well, I had already divorced the first wife because she didn't understand car business, and me living there for 14, 15 hours a day. So then my second wife, she was there, and I said, I have 50-50 custody of my kids. I can't tell my new wife, here's my kids while I'm gone for a month. This doesn't make sense. So rather than, play with the drama, I left, went to go work at a software company for the automotive space. Took that one, built it up, got sold to another company. Okay. Then I went back to a dealership, went back and forth, but I've spent the last 25 years in the automotive space. So what I did was I kept going in, then I partnered with somebody. That first company that interviewed me to be a business development center one, that partner had already sold off part of his company and started another one. He called me and said, let's put this together. BDC Genius, come in and let's work together and get this done. So took us 6 months, tripled the company. And then he and I didn't work well together as I had hoped. So we ended up, as soon as we landed a bunch of accounts, split up the company. And I walked away, got hired at another dealership, took them to 1,000 cars a month from 600, wow. Became #1 in the nation, and was running crazy. And then after that, I went to work for another owner. That owner decided to give my job to his friend after I fixed his dealership. So I increased it 51% year over year, took #1 in the Western United States, took all of these awards. And then he said, okay, we need to part ways. I need to bring in a heavy hitter. And the heavy hitter was someone who had never done the job. And so as soon as he said that, I looked at my wife, we started talking, and she said, look, you got sales, you got the fixed operations, you got BDC, you got all this, just go do your own company. Because I had always done it on the side. It was always that side hustle where I would train dealerships that were out of my area. Yeah. So that I can make money. So I would do it nights and weekends kind of thing. And so that's what I said, you know what, I'm going to do that. So it took me 47 days as my own owner to replace my income as the general manager. Wow. So, and I just haven't looked back since. And so that was the 2017. But when you add up everything that I built and how much we saw, I mean, we were in dealerships netting millions of dollars a month based off of all the volume and what we put out there. And so that's how, when you start looking at how much I've amassed in sales in these organizations and putting everything together, that's what got us to that point of saying, wow, let me just go in there. But I already know I can go turn anybody's dealership around and tweak processes and get it better because I've done it consistently. And so, and I always say that's the difference between somebody who's a coach and somebody who's a trainer. The coach is like, if you go to the gym, the coach is literally the label that's on that machine. You walk up to the machine goes, you're going to stand here, do this, do this, do this. That's the coach. The trainer is that guy who's totally ripped behind you that says, no, I'm going to be the one that yells at you and tells you no and won't let you do it wrong. And I'm going to hold you accountable and we're going to make sure the results stick. And so that's why I know I never tell anybody I'm a coach. No, I'm not a doctor like you, but right, that's the next level. So.
Yeah. Well, that's another discussion. I'm a PhD doctor of finance, but you know, like it's
But what percentage of the population holds that? Come on. You're like
but
top half
I
of
went
1%.
through the whole academia. I went to the top, and you know what I realized, coming from a street kid from Philadelphia, I realized, listen, if I'm going on an island, I'm getting stuck on an island, I get to pick one person. I want to pick someone that most likely is street smart over academic smart, because you know the combination, don't get me wrong, the combination is great, but some of the smartest people I know don't have an academic background, high school dropouts.
And some of the smartest people you know could tell you why they're going to get shocked when they stick that fork in a light socket. They'll tell you exactly what's going to happen, but they don't have the street smarts to not do it.
Yeah. But anyway, back to your story, Joe.
Yeah.
That was a great so I just want to add to that with a quick question. To put this in context, you took a lot of these businesses to 1,000 cars a month. What does a normal car dealership sell per month? Because that means nothing to us. Like, I don't know.
Right.
What does that mean?
The average across the US is about 100 cars a month.
Wow.
Yeah. So the second you get up above the 500s, it's a totally different game. And a lot of my clients will tell me, they'll say, look, if we're at 300 a month now, and you can do 1,000, I go, I can do that. But the processes at 1,000 are different than the processes at 700, than at 500, right? I can take your 200 car process, right, and squeeze 350 out of it. But the wheels are going to be shaken at that point, and we're going to have to adapt all new processes. But you can't take an 1,000 car process and drop it into a 200 car store. It's way too expensive. Your ROI drops completely because of what you have to put in place. But
how many dealerships sell beyond 1,000? Let's say 5,000 cars a month or 10,000. Is that even possible?
So right now, your top dealership sells just under 3,000, and there's maybe at the most 3 in the nation that will do that. I train one of them, so that's a good thing.
Hence why you're at the top of your field, like you've actually contributed to that unbelievable record. So, wow, that's incredible, Joe. Okay, Joe, so I have a series of questions that will basically be pretty much coming back to a lot of these points in your life anyway at some point, which will help round the story out. Great share so far. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, man. And so first I want to start out, because there's another part of you that, the part that I know about you, like the Clubhouse version, you're doing a lot of amazing things that are digital. Like, I don't see the face-to-face stuff. I believe you have books that are out there as well. Do you want to tell us a little about that? Maybe an overview of your books?
Sure, absolutely. So I put together, so my belief is this: I have to make everything as easy as possible, right? So anybody listening, if you want people to find you, make it as easy as possible to find you. Okay. And thanks to the digital world, we can do exactly that. Okay. So anybody goes, I want to talk about Joe's books. I go, okay, it's joesauthorpage.com. Right. And that'll take you right into the Amazon where all the books are sitting. but I do the self-publish on Amazon. And when I do that, so for example, on Clubhouse, love Clubhouse, was in Clubhouse. Do you know the first 2 weeks on Clubhouse, I probably had 100 Post-it notes all over my office, right? Whatever I could grab a Post-it note and scribble what somebody said was really good. It was like, oh yeah. And then I looked, and I'm like, I can't keep track of this. And then it was like, how many notepads do I have running around? And I said, I need to have everything in one spot. Okay. So at that point in time, I sat down and said, here's the things I need to know. I need to know what room I'm in, what the date is, who was talking, right? And how many times does somebody go on to a show, do something, and then go, hey, for every one of you guys listening to me right now, go here and do this. And then that ends up on a Post-it that says, I can get half off of this if I go here, and then we never find the Post-it again. So I put together these things that you need to gather, like in Clubhouse. To me, I said, I'm spending so much. My wife's like, you're on Clubhouse again? I'm like, I am on Clubhouse again, right? And so her answer was, well, why? And I said, okay, I need to build myself some kind of accountability program so that I can take action from what I've learned. Because too many people collect all the information and never implement it, right? Knowledge is power? No, knowledge is knowledge. Applied knowledge becomes power. And that's only if you do it effectively. So when I looked at that, I went out and made the Clubhouse Journal, right? Because I had a friend of mine said, I'm gonna put a book out a day on Amazon for a whole year. I was like, shut up. You can't do that, right? His name's Robbie Cornelius. And Robbie was like, I will. And he goes, do you realize I go to the whatever big box retailer and I buy a journal so that I can journal stuff and notepads. He goes, and none of those have words in them. I can make a book with no words. And I was like, what? I'm like, oh, that's brilliant. So then I said, let me go make a journal. So I made a Clubhouse journal with broken out. And again, it was very selfish. It was for me. I said, I know I need to get all of these things. I need to have, I will do this by then at the bottom, right? And then you have your aha moments. I love that. Aha moments is my favorite thing. In every book and everything I put out there, I say you need one page to write all of the stuff that was really important. So when you hear something and you go, aha, then you go write it on that page. And that's going to be the most important thing you have, is that one page from what it was. So I created this Clubhouse journal. And so from a Clubhouse room, I grabbed the screenshot of what was there. Glenn's there, a couple of us, right? We're all in there. And then I made an actual Clubhouse journal. And in my bio, it says, creator of the Clubhouse journal. And you know what I did? I said, go to clubhousejournal.com. Oh, how easy is that? Wow. You want the Clubhouse journal? Go to clubhousejournal.com, right? And it's sitting up on Amazon. It sits there. But right when Clubhouse came out, it was, oh my goodness, here it was. And what I did was I reached out to the people that had the 100,000 followers. And I said, wouldn't it be great if you had all your notes in one spot? Give me an address you're comfortable giving and I'll send you one. So then I had all the influencers that were on Clubhouse going, oh my gosh, I love this Clubhouse journal. Everything's in one. It was 90 pages. So each page is a room. So there's 90 rooms worth of notes that you can take with action item steps at the bottom. And so it was like, boom. So when I'm sitting in my office, it was like, okay, turn the page and I'm on the next room. Turn the page, I'm on the next room. And so then I put that out and then it was in my bio. It became passive income for me going through. Then I went one step further. I'm a sales guy. I made the Clubhouse notebook and I charged more for that one. Changed the cover. So I said, if somebody thinks it's more expensive, it's better, they can buy that one. Otherwise, it makes my Clubhouse journal look even more cost effective. So they're both up there and you can buy whichever one you want. I win in both cases. So I was like, okay. And then I started making other journals for people. And then I started, adding the humor to it. But on a Clubhouse room, somebody said, this is how you go take a blog post and make it into a book. And I was like, what? And I stayed on that room for 3 hours. When I got off of that room, I went and did everything that I wrote down and had a book submitted 3 hours after that room I did.
Wow.
And so it was like, I'm not going to bed till this is done. And I put it out there. It took 3 days. Amazon approved it. I went and put it out on my social media. I said LinkedIn and Facebook, 2 largest social media platforms I had. And I put it out there. Hey, everybody, I got my book. It's $3. Go buy one. And became an Amazon best-selling author for new releases.
You still do the journal though, Joe? Like
Yeah.
on Clubhouse? You still do
Yep.
it?
I have Clubhouse journal. Then I took and made a podcast journal. So if you listen to podcasts a lot, what was it? Spotify came out with the green room. So I made a green room one that went through. But in the self-publishing world of Amazon, I put it out there, but I gave my kids credit as authors. So now my children are best-selling authors too. Right? So I text my kids and go, hey, you guys just sold this many books today, this and that. And my oldest son in the group chat goes, what book is that? And my youngest goes, shut up, we wrote it. Yeah. And so, but yeah. And again, I love the digital space, and I love the fact that you can go put something out there. And again, once I do something, like I will grab a bunch of people and go, hey, I just learned how to do this. You can learn how to from me for free, but you need to be on this Zoom class with me, because I'm going to take that and put it into a course. But I need the footage, and I need the real questions that come up, because other people have the same questions. So then I go do that. I made that course, I did it, and I'm like, great, it takes 72 hours to get approved. So I said, become an Amazon author in 10 days. And then I give you the insides of the journals. I give you insides of journal templates, and I say, great, we will have you make a journal and put you up on Amazon within 10 days. Okay, you just have to design a cover, and they have a cover creator in the program. So all of it's really easy and to go do, but nobody explains it. But I will also tell you too, I'm an Amazon affiliate. Okay, you can tell when I get excited, I'm going to talk faster. I'm an Amazon affiliate. So I can go in and grab my own book and share the link. That's my affiliate link. And I will share it into a group somewhere and say, hey, if you guys want this book, here it is. And then when they click on my link, I get my commission plus the referral commission.
Wow. Because
it was my link. So maybe it's 4%. And if I'm making, 20% on the book, then I'll get 24%. Right. And Dr. Finance will tell you, you want every penny. Yes.
It all adds up.
Yeah, exactly. And so I put that out there, but I have my one book about communication. It's out there. That's like a real book, but it's literally was my proof of concept. So it's like 24 pages long kind of deal, just my proof of concept to say how to get out there. And then I have 10 or 11 other journals. Like I have my conspiracy theory journal, and it's a guy with a foil hat on, right? Or like the location of where I buried the treasure. That's what it says on the front of the journal. It's all blank pages on the inside, but it's designed to get everybody just to look at you and go, what the heck does that say? So, but I do that. So that's what I have on that one. But,
well, Joe, yeah, maybe we can talk offline about that, because there's only, it's a year and a half later, and Clubhouse, the major rooms really been condensed down to about three major in the entrepreneurial space, really just three major ones: myself, Diamond Diva's room, and arguably Breakfast with Champions in some spots. We don't have anybody that does any note taking here, so I don't know, maybe we can resurface those skill sets, apply it to the Friday night room that we hold, and find a way to make money with that. I mean, I'm open to ideas, because there's a lot of knowledge dropped every Friday. I mean, we got big guests and 6-hour stages. People want that.
Yeah.
So.
I had a guy who reached out to me from previous Clubhouse rooms that said, I will take notes and I will send it off to you, and you can do whatever you want with it.
Oh, wow.
And so I can find him too. But yeah, to me, that again, can you capture the information at the time you need to capture it, and then can you implement it later? And that's going to be the biggest benefit. Otherwise you go, I just love Dr. Finance and I love the finance group. I love it because I feel good. And I'm like, love it and get some benefit at the same time. You're going to feel good. We know that. That's your priority, right? And you also bring so much value, then someone needs to walk away and take action on the value.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Joe. All right, Joe. So that's your books. And I thought you had a book. Maybe I might have gotten confused. I thought you had a book that you had like a big forward on from somebody, a celebrity or something. Was that you or?
No.
No, sorry. Okay.
No.
Okay, so I think it was maybe it was
it's the War Games.
Yeah, War Games. So let's talk about that. So can you tell us a little about your War Games group, and just the generalities of that, maybe 2 minutes.
Sure. So to me, what I found was that there's a lot of people that are in sales that need that help, but can't get it from where they work, right? Or they have somebody that just tells them the same thing over and over again and thinks that was, them being taught. And they go, yeah. So I came from, when I went into the automotive space, the answer for all new salespeople was go outside, be nice to the people, bring them in, I'll take care of it from here. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make sense. Or go get him, Tiger. Go get him, Tiger. I believe in you. It's like, no. So I created War Games. So it's a weekly sales training program.
It's a podcast too, right?
Yeah. And then I will convert it. I converted into my Sales Genius podcast as well. But we go live on every Wednesday. And so it's a pay group that people come into. When I have guest speakers, I usually broadcast live for the speaker to get the benefit too, but I'll put it out on my YouTube channel, or I'll put it out onto LinkedIn or something to increase awareness. But I do trainings with the people in the group. Right now there's 300 plus people in my group. And so we meet every Wednesday. I go on and I will teach people sales steps, closing, branding, right? Mindset, things along those lines to say, here's what you need to focus on. And then they ask questions while we're live and go in. And then I will bring in people that have an expertise outside of mine, or somebody that actually legit will teach the same thing I do, because I know sometimes you need to hear it from a different parent than your own. I don't want them to become parent deaf to me. So I will drop them in. But, I had Sharon Lechter come on and talk about how do we exit rich, things like that. Steve Sims came in, talk about how to uniquely brand yourself. And David Meltzer and I are talking, we just trying to get our schedules together. But it's all about, again, so I have the celebrities. Glenn came in and taught a class on, being the individual and going different than everybody else. So that's what, to me, I just want to provide value for people that say, oh, I would love to get more education and get more something. Everything I put in place is designed for you to sell something today. So you'll walk away from this meeting. It goes 30 to 40 minutes. It's every Wednesday at 2:00. But yeah, if you check the website, when you look through, it's got Lisa Copeland, it's got Tim Kintz, it's got Steve Sims, it's got Sharon Lechter. All the testimonials are there, and they're also guest speakers and friends of mine. So that's what we go put together.
Wow. So that's every Wednesday for about 30 to 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's a paid group. You got to pay to be a part of this amazing club. What's the prices or
so normally it's $99 a month, but I reduced it to $49 a month.
Wow.
For your group, for anybody who's listening can go in. So it's the 50% off kind of deal. Why? Because sometimes that's what it takes to get people to take action.
And don't forget, folks, this is July 21st, 2022. So if you come back a year from now,
like,
you'll
be like, what happened?
For $49.99.
Yes,
inflation's up 1,000,000%. Like,
right. Yeah, I was gonna say and I didn't give a discount code. I just dropped the price on the website for you. So I'll go back in a month and go, hey, let's go ahead and put it right back where it's supposed to be for money. But it is there now.
What's the website for it? We can repeat it again.
Joinwargamesgroup.com.
Gotcha.
So
thank you. Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Next question we're going to talk about, because well, first of all, before I get the next question, how long has the War Games group been going on for?
War Games group is going on 2 years now.
2 years.
So there's archives as well. There's 150 episodes in the can already that you have access to as well. And
this is a podcasting question, because this is what you're doing is unique. It actually serves multi-purposes, including the podcasting element. How has and that's your main podcast, by the way? You don't have any other podcasts?
So the War Games itself is the live training, and then I will take the ones with the other people and add it to my Sales Genius podcast.
Oh, okay.
And so the Sales Genius podcast, anywhere podcasts are, you'll be able to find it. And so I have episodes that weren't part of War Games, where we dig deep and stuff. And like I teach a concept called assumed rapport. So I tell everybody, automatically, the thing is, I'm going to assume we're friends until you check me otherwise.
And that's called Sales Genius Podcast, right?
Yes.
Okay. So let's look at it from a podcasting perspective. How has podcasting improved your life? You know, I've had this podcast. I think we're almost at episode 70 at this point. It's been going on. Just a little history, folks. Sharon Lechter, my mentor, one day said yes to an interview. I asked her, I said, can I interview you? She said, yeah. I went home and thought about it this weekend. And as an opportunist, I said, what else can I do with this? And I came up with the idea of a podcast. And since then, it's just been superstar after superstar and just an incredible ride. And it's improved my life a lot, even though there's only one thing I do, but it's just the connections and whatnot. It's just immensely rewarding, and the conversations. But what is your thoughts? How has podcasting improved your life?
So podcasting has brought me clients. It's brought me I believe my overall goal, period, is legacy. And so to me, the whole goal of me sitting down going, what should I do a podcast for? I go, well, that way my great grandkids can go back and listen and go, oh, look, that's great grandpa Joe over there, right? And they could actually hear me talk.
Could you imagine that? Could you imagine let's just go back like 5 generations, or great whatever. And we can go on YouTube and watch them do an interview. Absolutely. We don't have that ability right now, but like if you move forward in the future, they will have the ability to come back and listen to us.
To me, that's the beauty of social media. There's a company out there that takes all of your posts on whatever social media platform is and puts them into a book. So you can actually take it and go, here's 2022. And you put the book up on the wall, and it's all of the posts and the interactions that you had. And I was like, isn't that what the web's for, is to keep it? But they put it together that way. I look at it and I said, I want generations to know. I want people to go listen to the podcast and hopefully take action. And I've gotten messages from people that I don't know, and they're like, wow, when you said this, and this, totally changed every way I look at sales. This is different. Like I go on my podcast, I'll sit down and say, hey guys, here's a tip on reading a book. Here's how you read a book effectively so that you don't mess with yourself later. So I tell people, I'm like, I take a 3x5 card, and every time something hits me in a book, I don't highlight it, I don't scratch it, circle it, write in the margins. I write it on this aha moment card, and I put it all the way down. Because why? You can only understand a book at the level at which you have matured. And so if you go back to read the book again that you already did, and you have it highlighted and scribbled and everything else, you don't read the book. You go back and look at only the places you highlighted, which means you will only gain the same knowledge you already had from before. So if the book stays clean and pristine, and then what I do is I go back, like I have one, my friend Kimberly Slavic, who's my friend now because I got the book, but I got her book and I went through and I created all that. And then what I did was I take that out, and when I go back and read again, I create a whole new card. And then I go back to see and judge myself whether or not I have matured and found the next level of information that's there. And I'll find some things I wrote down were the same because I didn't take action on them. I wrote it down, I was like, oh, I should do something about that. And then I didn't. So now I find it again. I'm like, slacker, let's go back and change that. But these are the things I can put on a podcast, throw it out there and have it, a 2-minute podcast. Right. And so I can go throw it out there and go, here, go for that. But yeah, we're at 7,000 downloads or something on the podcast. So I like that. And so now we do it like this. We can do a podcast that's audio only, and we can go do it on YouTube and get the visual for the visual people too. So it's just
better that way. And I never get the people who just do the audio only. When you can separate them. Like you can have both at the same time. Why waste the resource? It just
absolutely. So I'm an auditory person. So what it takes me when we do meetings like this is I tend to throw my ear towards the camera because that's where the sound's coming from. So I have to consciously tell myself, no, stay straight. But you'll see I'll tilt that way. But when you understand people learn either the visual, auditory, or kinesthetic, then kinesthetic people should be writing notes. That's how they learn. Okay. And so, whenever I do a training, I pass out the little 12 question thing that says, here, go through, and they define themselves. And then I tell them how I'm going to know whether they're paying attention or not. And so, but then they learn and go, oh, I am a visual learner. Oh, I'm this and this. And it's like, okay, good. now that you know, I know too. So I'll watch you this whole time. So
What do they say? 40% audio and 40% visual?
it's the kinesthetic is somewhere in the
smallest.
20s.
20, yeah.
Yeah, and then so everybody has all three, but there's a main and a secondary, and visual is in 80% of the either first or second that we're learning through our eyes. But for me, when you look at it, I learned so much more through my ears than anything else. So that's like I text Grant Cardone. I'm like, dude, seriously, because he used to write his books just by talking them. So when you get the audiobook and it's him and he says a word different than everybody else does, I used to walk on the beach and I'm listening and he'd say something and I would stumble. And then I laugh and I text. I'm like, dude, that's not how you say this. And he's, it doesn't matter. I sold a bunch of books, didn't I? And I'm like, you're right. Yeah. So.
Yeah, having an accent from Philadelphia, I get that all the time.
Right.
Like the word breakfast. Like breakfast? No, breakfast. That's the way I've been saying it. That's the way I'm gonna keep saying it.
Yeah, my dad's from Massachusetts, so everything was a draw. Put it in the draw. And I'm like, a draw? What? Yeah.
All right, thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. Joe, next question. Who are some of the celebrities you've interviewed and or worked with? I know there's a lot. Maybe just highlight a few in maybe 30 seconds or so.
Yeah. So again, Joe Verdi was automotive training, Grant Cardone, Glenn Morshower, our buddy, Sharon Lechter, I've worked with. Wow, there's a lot of people. So, but I think that's it. We'll just leave the hobnobbing at that point. Enough. But yeah. So
check out his podcast. You'll find out more.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Thank you, Joe. What are the qualities that have made you a successful salesman over others? Because there's something unique about what you're doing, something that's done in a certain way, right? Just to paraphrase some of the words from Wattles, The Science of Success, Science of Getting Rich. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Something done in a certain way. What is it? What is that certain way? What is it that's making you a great salesman when other people are doing your same job and they're still struggling 40 years pushing pencils?
Yeah. So, and again, I bounce through industry, software sales, all of these different things. But the reason I can sell a product to somebody is because I don't care who I am in the process. My view is to say, what part of my personality do I need to bring out to be the person that individual, that prospect needs me to be to feel comfortable enough to buy from. So if I'm going to sit down with someone who's loud, obnoxious, and whatever, I will be loud, obnoxious with them. Okay. Instead of going, I can't believe this person is this way. And I sit there judging them the whole time. I will sit down and, for example, I used to laugh because my wife sits down and goes, I can't handle talking to IT guys. Why do you get along with them? And I go, well, I bring out my inner nerd, right? It's all in there. We all have it. It's just whether or not we choose to bring it forward. And we are naturally sitting in a certain personality type is where you resonate, and that's where you stay all the time. But we all have everybody's personality within us. So can you access it? So if my ego is so driven that I have to be me and you need to deal with me in order to buy from me, instead of me saying, who do I need to be for you to feel comfortable, right? I can sit down and have a conversation and go from desk to desk, table to table, call to call, right? Web demo to web demo, and be a different person that's on there. And not one of them is fake. It's not getting out there and fake it till you make it, right? I hate that saying, because if you fake it till you make it, we all know when someone's faking. So why would you fake it?
Yeah.
But I can sit back and say, if I need to be more passive and I need to be more of a voice of reason, I will take that approach to help you to buy. But my intent is always to determine if it makes sense for you. Like, I'm not going to get you buried and in trouble with something. I'm not going to go sell you a software package that is never going to work for you. I can't operate that way. Ethically, it's wired in me to go, no, I don't care what the commission is. If it's not going to get the end result, not make you money, I don't want to sell it. And I take more of that challenger sale approach where I'm a consultant coming in and whatever works. It may be a competitor's, and I don't have an issue with telling you that. And I've had plenty of people that I'm like, you know what, based on your price point, your desired outcome, where you're going, I'm not the right person for you. Here is the person you should reach out to. I'll put you both in a group text, and away you go. And that to me makes me feel better. And I want their best. Again, I need raving fans. All of my current clients are raving fans. And if you called them, they would talk your ear off about what Joe does for them. And that's what I need. So I don't want to go hire somebody that I have to just simply pull along with me to try to get results. And so when it comes to selling an individual, the answer is keep their best interest in mind, adapt your personality to match theirs. And that way you can actually become the person they need you to be.
That's beautiful. And I like the way you added the fact that you're not being fake. Like you're just trying to understand that person better. So if that means adapting, like you said, adapting to their personality, bending your normal rhythm just slightly, just to get into their space with the end goal of something positive happening, not to do something bad, then that's justifiably okay. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. What to do? I'm sorry. What to do if someone's ladder is up against the wrong wall?
So I will tell you that, and I lived through this, right? You're climbing that ladder, you get to the top and go, well, crap, this is not where I wanted to be, right? And so if your ladder is on the wrong wall, you need to make it okay for yourself to climb back down. Okay, so like when I was sitting there as general sales manager and then I went to service manager, some people say, well, that's a step down. When I left that one dealership from this position and took one that was 2 steps down, it's because I realized I was capped, right? You can put a ladder against a wall, come up and hit the ceiling because you're like, well, I got to the top. It doesn't matter. You can't go anywhere. And so the bottom line is I don't think you have to jump off the ladder, right? Just climb yourself down a couple rungs and then pick up something that goes across. There's way too many opportunities out there. And I think a lot of people have closed themselves off to this is my path, right? If I had stuck with my education, I'd still be an electrical engineer person instead of the person that can go make a flow chart, but then also sell you something too. So.
And you had you're speaking of the education, you had an undergraduate degree in electrical engineering, right?
Yes.
Did you go on to get your master's too for that?
No.
You went straight to work for aerospace? I
just went straight to work.
Okay.
So I finished education while I was working.
Okay. Yeah. Drexel has a program like that here in Philadelphia. I don't know about aerospace, but a lot of engineering stuff where it's like a 5-year co-op. You're working and you're doing it's a pretty cool program. Thank you, Joe. All right. Why do you like Clubhouse so much? I mean, we met on Clubhouse. We've been through probably hundreds of stages together. What is it that attracts you to Clubhouse? I have my own reasons, but I'm curious what you think.
So for me in Clubhouse, because I'm an auditory learner, it's one of my favorite platforms because I don't have to worry about getting distracted about anything. To me, it's a interactive podcast. To me, that's what I look at it. I go, it's interactive because I can go raise my hand, right? I can jump up, I can ask a question where I can't do that on a podcast. So to me, I've got live individuals that are taking their time to go share from there. I will say my first room, okay, and this was just one of those things that just happened. My first room on Clubhouse was Ty Lopez, Damon John, and Grant Cardone all arguing about what they would do if they had to start over today. And this was back in 2020, whatever.
I think I was in that room. Oh, 2020? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was one of the first ones. And so when I logged, it was on Christmas Day. They were all on this one stage that was there, and I was out in the audience, right, brand new, and I listened to them argue about that, and I took 1.5 pages of notes. And I was like, oh my goodness. And I was like, the wealth of information that's being shared, and it's being shared in a genuine way, right? That's why your room is still there. Okay, so when you go to entrepreneurship, why are there 3 rooms left? How many rooms were there before?
That's a great question, Joe. How
Thousands.
many? You were there before me. How many? Thousands?
Yeah, there were thousands of rooms that all talked about it. But again, only the ones that have the character and the overall benefit of their audience at heart are the ones that stayed. So when you look at it and you say, look, you aren't sitting there going, I'm going to totally monetize on this and I'm going to go make all this stuff. And you should monetize. You should make money from it. You should gain, right, popularity. You should gain an audience. Absolutely. But that wasn't your intent. Your intent was providing value.
Yeah.
Okay. And so
I
the
still haven't
focus
made any money.
Hey, I made a couple $100 with my journal. Yeah, but you know, that's when you look at that, it was like, okay, like I used to have a room on Clubhouse. So it was advanced sales techniques that we did. And then I'd bring people in to go through and share advanced sales techniques that are on there. But when you look at the overall who's still there, it's the people that just provide the value. They provide the space for somebody to come in and get better and understand something. And the fact that you can make it interactive is the biggest benefit. The fact that the app will play even if the screen goes down. You know, these little things that developers thought of that make so much sense. And I look and I'm like, to me, why not be on an app that is already the way I learn and gives me the ability to interact with whoever's talking? And again, I'm around people that I wouldn't have access to.
Yeah.
And
That's
so
cool.
it's a legit mastermind that most people would be paying for. I pay to be in different masterminds right now. And then I can go log in on Clubhouse and get bigger names and bigger people that are out there. And it's just come in and invite people to the room is my pay to play. I'm all for that.
And Joe, you've been in a lot of my stages. I just want to take one classic one. This one stands out for me for some reason. About 2 months ago, I had Dan Clark as the main guest speaker, and Jim Cathcart joined the co-host. Okay, so there's about 180 living Hall of Fame speakers. There's about 280, something like that ever existed.
Mm-hmm.
And here we have 2 Hall of Fame speakers in the same room at the same time, and then
Right.
we have a whole list of other people like that are great, like in so many other areas. Tyrone Poole, 2-time Super Bowl champion. I mean, we just keep going down the list. And Jim Cathcart, he said this a long time ago. Every time he comes on, he says the same thing. He says, I asked him the same question, Jim, how much is this stage worth for real? He goes,
Right.
It's priceless. You can't put it together in real life. So
no, true.
To go what you just said, like how in the world, like how much value is in a room like that? And it's free. Like where else could you ever get something like that?
You would have had to, it had to have been a secret meeting and you stumbled into the doorway and you walked in and said, look at all these people. What are they doing? Yeah, exactly. It doesn't happen in real life. And so,
like Joe Polish. Let's look at Joe Polish, for example, right? Like he's got his incredible, amazing, one of the top masterminds of all, like the most expensive.
yeah.
I don't know. I've never been in there, but I know people have. I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Joe? Compare what we're doing on Fridays to that. Is there similarities? I mean, and then
definitely there's similarities. And if you look at it and say, well, what is the point of a mastermind? The mastermind is we all get together, we connect to infinite intelligence through what's happening, right? And I can leverage the experience and relationships and the knowledge of somebody else so I don't have to go through it. Okay, that's what we do with masterminds. Then if you pick a certain topic, then we can all deep dive onto a topic. And if you look at it, Joe Polish's one, the only difference is they may sit in a room together or the cameras may be on in a Zoom. But again, that's great for those that have to learn that way, right? But again, most of the time, what is it? I want to go to that so I can get a selfie with somebody. It's not about learning the information. It's not about that. Where on Clubhouse, the purity of it is we're there to learn. We're there to take the value that someone is giving so that we can use it. And that's where I look at, because again, we can screenshot all day long. on Clubhouse. It's
Yeah.
like, for me, I laughed because it was me, Glenn, and Dan Clark in the last one
Uh-huh.
across the row. And then I messaged Dan and I was like, look how sexy row 3 is right now. Right. And he answered back, oh, I love you, man. That's so true. Look at that. Right.
Oh yeah,
And it
last
was,
Friday, right? Just
yeah,
look at
last
that one.
Friday. And so he was like, oh yeah, I hope you're well, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, great. But again, it's just me. But again, when you screenshot that, yeah. it's bragging rights that you were there. But it was a side note. It wasn't your intent. No one goes into a Clubhouse room to go, let me go get a picture of myself, my selfie next to someone else's selfie. That's not the benefit. You go in and say, I will go to a room that provides consistent benefit, which Dr. Finance, that's yours. That's why it's there. And then you got Diamond Diva jumping in too. Come on. So
yeah, her Wednesday room, I helped her co-host. I was there last night. I mean, it's just genuine. Like, yeah, she has her free master class, but it's free master class
right.
with a link at the top. But again, all just providing value. Yeah, thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. Next question on Clubhouse. Maybe you can help me as the sales genius. Okay, so bringing this discussion full circle, I haven't made any money directly from Clubhouse. But the connections that I've made and the opportunities in the background, the book series I'm involved with, executive producer roles of movies that are going to be rivaling The Secret. I mean, the list just keeps going on of other long-term opportunities. But in the meantime, I just keep going and serving every Friday night. Maybe there's another way to make money on Clubhouse I haven't thought of. I know you tried some things. I don't think you made that much money from it.
No.
I can't imagine you did, because I just know Clubhouse too much.
Right.
Is there any other ways to make money on there using your experience as a sales genius? Re-engineer this thing, Joe, for me. What's your thoughts?
If you look at it, the answer would be come in with some kind of product that's unique to you. Right now, your product is the room. Okay. So then how can someone maximize the room better? How can they get more benefit from what you put together is, right? So if you look at it and say, I'm going to record all of the meetings, and then you can get your own app, and then you can actually monetize that app for people to get the archives. Right. And so then here's a convenient way for you to go back through and listen to just what you want to. You could truly sell the notes that are taken. So we talked to the guy from before that says, hey, I'll jump in your room for X amount of dollars an hour, and I'll take all the notes down, blah, 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 and then I'll provide it back to you. You take that's one expense. We can now tell everybody, do you want the note? Are you driving right now? Would you like to have all the notes from this?
Yeah.
Right. Then you go ahead and text this to this. We can set up a text platform that will, let people go buy something and then send them off the stuff and make it that way. But again, how easily can you make it for somebody? Right now, you made it really easy for someone to participate in a room, to come and get the value. How can I easily make it so that they can go and find you offline? Okay. Like a lot of times I will go do masterminds. I'll go do people's things like my buddy up in Canada. He does the Run GPG podcast. He has all these people in, but he'll bring me in to actually train his team. So he'll have his quarterly mastermind for the team, and then I'll come in and train them on how to go through things, personality testing, right? Communication wise, I'll go through all that. And so, but what I'm going to do is go take that information and go put it out someplace else. How easily can his team find me? Well, I will nurture the relationships on Instagram. Right. And so I will say, DM me on Instagram. That's there, because I don't have to have a live room to have a conversation with you. And I know a lot of creators that the answer is put them on Instagram, and that's where you can manage them in your DMs. And so if you do that, now you're going to do it. So I will tell you, like I have a 19-year-old kid that reached out to me on Instagram that I still interact with and talk with, because whatever I suggest to him, he goes, puts in action, and comes back and shows me what happened.
Wow.
So for that person, I will go out of my way. I'm not charging him, but he's like, hey, give me an idea. So if someone says, I need help with this, I'll send them a War Games episode. I'll be like, here, go watch this. If I don't hear back from them, great. I didn't waste any time. Okay. If they come back and they go, okay, at 12 minutes in, you said this, this, and this, right? Can you expand on this? Then I go, oh, they're doing the work, right? And I will go help this individual. And I'm not jumping on a Zoom and go, let's do 3 hours worth of, deep dive into your lemonade stand, right? It's going to be, how can I go in and say, can I guide you this way? But I will always invest back in my time to someone who is taking the time to take what I've said, put into action, and has something tangible to talk about. Right. And so I have people I've never ever met that in Instagram, we have gone back and forth, and comes back, well, I'm thinking I can do day trading, do this and that. And I go, don't understand it. I'm not the guide for you. Right. Well, how about this? Or how about that? Or, hey, I saw you talk about this. Can you expand on that? And then I just send them a video. That's again, the best part about recording everything.
Yeah.
I have a video archive that's there. There's a whole bunch of stuff I have on YouTube that's hidden. But
you've cloned yourself.
Yeah. I've given myself scalability to go back and do this. And say,
so if someone wants to learn about sales, we're both going to send them this video. Come check out this.
go learn from this, and then comment with something that you learned from it. Right. Then we can start going back and forth. But so
that's awesome. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. So Joe, why is it important to be ethical in business? Maybe 1 minute or less.
The thing is that I believe karma follows us, and we know things have happened in other people's lives, and we went, that's karma coming back to them. But again, whatever you put out comes back. I'm a firm believer of that. And if unethical is what you're putting out, it's going to come back. It's a temporary deviation from who you truly are. If you're unethical, it's a temporary deviation for profit in some area of your life, but it will be subtracted in another area. And most people don't understand the yin yang kind of deal. They go, oh yeah, I'm just going to go take advantage of all of these people. And then you wonder why your personal life is completely empty, or you wonder why you are the victim of somebody else being unethical. And I'm like, it's just the way it works out.
By the way, I hate to go back to Clubhouse question, but the things that I learned on Clubhouse that I never talk about, like right now, is this psychology and behavioral things. Like this conversation on ethics, people wonder why they're stuck in a room with other con artists. In a room of 30 people and under, and they can't get in any rooms bigger than that because they're blocked in all the rooms.
Oh yeah.
They wonder why. It's the same idea in business. Like if you keep robbing people and conning people and doing all the bad things over and over, bridge blocked, this bridge is falling down, this bridge is falling down, you're getting roadblocked everywhere, and they're putting,
you're on an island.
Yeah, you're on an island, man. Like, and it's the same analogy, but we get to watch it happen faster on Clubhouse. It's like an experiment, social experiment, right?
True. The person who joins the stage and then just cuts everybody else off to promote themselves. Yeah. And you're like, what just happened? What just happened? My answer is, it's in the bio. Go read my bio if you want to know who I am, what's going on. Yeah. So
thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. All right, Joe. How do you make money in the auto business? Is it possible you can sum that up in a minute or less? Let's say I want to I want to make money. I want to do what you did. Like, how do you do that?
So when you look at it, the automotive space there's a very low barrier to entry. Okay. And so the answer is can you be a good person? I'm going to tell you right now, I've dealt with a whole bunch of sleaze bags. I've dealt with that goes through, right? If you know, like one of the most successful ad campaigns for the car business was Helpful Honda Guys. 5 dealers got together, pooled their money together in Southern California and started those commercials. Then it got picked up by Honda Corporate and they ran with it nationwide. But it was designed in the very early commercials. They showed you that the Honda salesperson just wanted to be helpful and he was too dumb to take advantage of you. So on the scale of life where you go, this is positive and this is negative, right? Car salespeople were here, right? Them and attorneys, right? So I worked at a law firm and a car dealership. So I'm down here, right? So when you look at that, then what happened was Honda came out and said, our guys are so not going to take advantage of you. And they portrayed this, that a new car Honda guy is up here. And that brought the whole industry up in the eyes of the public. So no longer do you have to feel bad about saying, I'm going into car sales. Okay, the jokes will always be there. When you search for car salesman, it'll always be Danny DeVito from Matilda, a plaid suit. He'll always show up as one of the images. But if you go Google search and put new car salesman, you'll see that almost everything is positive. If you say used car salesman, it's not going to be there, but it's getting more positive, but it's not going to be there. But car salesman itself is going to be mostly positive images because the industry is changing. And again, if you have a desire to help somebody get something that they're looking to get, then you go into sales. If you have a passion for automobiles, then you want to go into car sales. Because it's really easy to, right now it's just really easy because nobody has enough inventory. Right? So the chip shortage that went to all of our personal laptops and cell phones and things for a pandemic, right, stopped the cars from being produced the way they want to. So there's limited inventory that's out there, so profitability is high right now. So it's a good time to be a commissioned person on the compensation plan that has no competition. So
brilliant. Thank you, Joe. And Joe, knowing a little bit about the car industry, all I can say is that if I was to become a salesman, I would do exactly the opposite of everybody else. I mean, that's just my natural way anyway. Just be honest. I think just by being honest with, and I'm no offense to the auto industry, but you just admitted it has a bad reputation. So you just be a nice person, just an honest person. And I think like it's probably the easiest business to be successful because of the many people that are not doing the right thing. Whenever you find an industry like that and you come in, you be the honest person, people are just going to gravitate to you naturally.
Absolutely.
Naturally, no one wants to be around someone selling them something in an unethical way. Why would anyone ever want to say, I want to get ripped off when I buy a car, when I buy a house? Yeah, I want to get ripped off when I buy like no one says that. So they would naturally gravitate to the right person, right?
Yep. And I will say that too, that like I teach what I call the preemptive strike. Okay. So when I go into sales, most people view sales as a battle for the customer's money, which is why I came up with war games. And I said, I'd rather buy into what the mass population believes it is, and then we'll change it from the inside. Okay. So I'm like, yeah, it's a war game. Because what is war game? Strategy. It's all about the strategy to win. And so I look at it and say, I tell everybody, do the preemptive strike. I sit down and I go, hi, Anthony, I'm Joe. To start off, I just want to throw out there, I'm not your typical sleazy car guy. I have no desire to sell you something that you do not want or need. Okay. And I'm okay with telling you that this may not be the vehicle, or I may not be the salesperson for you.
Oh, I like that. I wish someone told me that. I would like them immediately.
Right. Because why? I already know what you're thinking.
Yeah.
When you come in. So if I address it, then you can drop the barrier down, because the whole time you're waiting for me to be sleazy. When I say something, you're like, does that validate sleazy in my mind? Does it not? So if I acknowledge it in the beginning and say, these aren't me, then you go, oh, you watch their shoulders drop. They go, oh, thank goodness. Right. Somebody walks into a lot out here. I come out and I go, hi, what did you see online that you wanted to see in person? And they automatically go, oh, instead of me going, hi, how can I help you? Hey, what do you want to buy today? I'm like, stop being cheesy. Just stop it. There's no word track that's going to make you a good person. Okay. There's nothing that you can do. Go, if I use this opening line, it's going to be, no, it's just your words are an amplification of who you are.
Right.
And so choose them carefully.
Yeah. Same with wealth. Wealth is an amplification of who you are too. Rich people, they just do more of what they already are. All right. Thank you, Joe. What is the purpose of sales? Maybe 30 seconds or less.
The purpose of sales itself is to take someone's idea and put it in the hands of somebody who wants to utilize it. It's just taking someone's idea that they put into play and giving it to the people that want it. You're just the bridge in between, matching what they want versus what you have. And that's all we do.
Thank you, Joe. As an extension to that question, what is more important to a business, sales or marketing?
So of course they go hand in hand. Okay. So that means marketing has to understand sales. Sales has to understand what the marketing is. But the bottom line, without sales, you have no business. You can market all day long, drive traffic to something. Like I tell everybody, I modified the statement. I say a confused mind will never click submit on your form or for ordering. It will not. Okay. So you can market all day long, but if there is nothing that comes out of it, you're done. There's companies that don't spend $1 on marketing and sell a whole bunch because the reputation of them doing business correctly is what goes out there.
Would you
So
say sales is a part of marketing? Because marketing is the big picture. It's attracting to eventually sell.
They have to work together.
Yeah,
they're of the same beast.
Yeah.
Right. But without the sales part, you can have no marketing with sales and have a successful business. You can't have phenomenal marketing with no sales and have a business. It's not there. So the ability to convert is what's key.
Very important. I like that. I like that a lot. Thank you, Joe. All right.
My
What is
pleasure.
better, building someone else's brand or your personal brand? Now, I want to preface this question, and this is based on your story from what I heard so far. My question to you is, I mean, you moved around a lot, all over the auto industry. You tried so many things and you were successful in every single thing, pretty much. My question, why wouldn't you have done what you're doing now much sooner? Because you could have just did your own like business consulting for these companies before a long time ago. You already were successful. You already knew you could do it. Why did it take so long to create your own personal brand? So back to the question again, what is better, building someone else's brand or your personal brand? And maybe you can integrate into your story.
Sure. I'll tell you that when I look at that and I hear that, I'm going to say until I felt comfortable enough in my own brand, I had to build someone else's. While I was building their brand, I truly was identifying my own brand and my own results. So when I left, the reason it took 47 days to replace my income is because my name was known throughout the industry. So when it came down to it, when I called into somebody, they were like, "What? You?" That's great, because their answer before was, could I hire him to come in, but I'd have to fire someone to give him the spot. Now the answer was, oh, I can bring it in, have him tweak everything and make it better for me based on his experience. So I built the other brands while building the name for me, and my name became my brand. And so to me, if you can build your own, like for me, I always joke and say, I have an issue with just generally off the top, I don't like seeing life coach and I'm 19 years old, right? I look and I go, what are you comparing it to? Right. And maybe there's a market for that. And maybe that person's been through a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Right. That's fine. But again, who did they get their information from to be a 19-year-old life coach that I would have to look at? So I'd have to scrutinize with it. And since I had to scrutinize, I had to make sure I had a track record already built for me to go put my name out there and say, this is me. To get a job, my name preceded me. To build a business was a bigger step that I had to build my belief in me first.
And that was a great. By the way, that was a great share. I appreciate that. There's all different reasons why people do it. I just wanted to hear yours because you had a different path to get where you were. So, for example, I interviewed Joe Foster, founder of Reebok, on here. Also, Ed Connors, who was a major strategic owner to make Gold's Gym the largest gym in the world. And each one of them really wasn't worried about their own personal brand, even though they were representing these giant companies, right? Joe Foster's story was, here he is in his 80s now, building his personal brand. He already built Reebok, right? Like sold it 20 years ago for like $4 billion, something like that. And I asked him, why are you doing this now? And in both their cases, it's about legacy. Like in Joe's case, for example, he's becoming a personal brand because he wants the story to be told properly. It wasn't being told properly. So he had to build his personal brand to make sure his company brand, what name was protected, right? And you just had a different angle. You were actually doing both of these at the same time.
Right.
Yeah. So that's a very interesting perspective. Thank you, Joe.
Well, I had to grow into the identity of my own brand.
Mm.
right? And I always knew my name was worth it because I made it worth it. But when it came to standing on your own,
Yeah.
as that's the only thing, that was the part that I went, okay. But then when I got, like I said, my bride looked at me and said, just go do it.
Right.
Just go do it. And it was like, I can do that. So
You think you could have done it like 5 years before, maybe 10?
I would say 5 before, I probably could have done it. Yes. I could have done it 5 years before. And then that's when I had partnered with somebody. And then I realized I don't want to partner anymore. So that gave me a bad taste. And I was like, I'm going to go back to the security of what I had before, right? Where I just have to deal with an owner occasionally. And then when I got to the point and the owner was like, hey, is that your back? Stab. I was like, okay, then great. Let me just go ahead and say, I don't want to be at the mercy of anybody else anymore. And whether it's a partnership or a job, you're at the mercy of someone else's feelings.
But that was a huge life lesson to help you eventually
Yeah.
get to the point of understanding it's time to be a personal brand. Yeah. So you had to go through that.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. All right. So Joe, your top 3 best sales tips, maybe 30 seconds. If you could summarize your top 3 best sales tips for sales.
Okay. So the top 3, I'll throw this out here. I believe you need to match and mirror your prospect. Okay. And when you say match and mirror, what I'm going to tell you is that I want you to match and mirror the tone in which they speak. I want you to match and mirror the wording that they use. Okay. And I also want you to match the speed in which they speak. Okay. These are the 3 things that are really easy for you because it causes you to pay attention to them, which again, everybody loves when somebody pays attention to them. But if you mirror those things back, which most people forget, most people never take that in-depth of a look at somebody. I'm going to use their words back. So if Anthony, if you turn around and say, man, that's amazing, I will use amazing back and forth. If you say, well, I'm going to need a significant discount, when I talk to you, I go, if anybody could, afford to provide you with a significant discount, it would be me. But I will use your terminology back to you. If you speak slowly, I speak slowly. What normally happens is somebody talks really fast at somebody. The person goes, I'm sorry, what'd you say? And we say it again really fast. And we're trying to hope they grab enough each time I say it. But if I drop it down and I talk to the same speed at which they speak, then all of a sudden I get through it faster. They like me more, right? My 4 steps to a sale is like, listen, believe, and buy. Okay. If I like you, I'll listen to you. As I listen to you more, I like you more, and I go back and forth. Then I realize I can believe what you're saying. And then once I believe you, then and only then will I be able to take a buy step.
So that's brilliant. That's pretty similar to like a lot of I think Amazon, know, like, and trust. That's their process, and some other big companies. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. Joe, I'm sorry. All right, we're getting into template questions now, so these should be about a minute or less. We're almost there, Joe. I appreciate you standing through here. Can one book change the world? Maybe 30 seconds.
One book can, it already has, right? It's your Think and Grow Rich. And so again, it's just a matter of, are you going to actually read it and go through? So it has, and it's going to help anybody who's willing to do it. One book can change anybody's life. And so it's just about, could you possibly get it?
Brilliant, Joe. Thank you. And by the way, Joe, I think I mentioned it earlier, the book on Wallace D. Wattles. I'm reading that these days. I never even looked into all this stuff. I'm new to the self-help.
The science,
yeah, like that book. Does it really have that kind of effect to change Napoleon Hill's mind, to influence his book, Think and Grow Rich?
Yeah, it does. And so again, a majority of what we have is as a culture, we are taught not to think about what we could get or not utilize the power of our mind and if you realize anytime you've taken a big leap in life, it has taken more focus than you apply to most things in your life. And so when you focus, visualize, and see it, then you resonate at a frequency that can receive that. And that's where most people don't understand exactly what you have to do. So that there is science back behind it, and you need to understand that there's a pretty clear method on how you're going to get rich and how you're going to be successful.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. And by the way, one book, so that his book influenced the guy who's book influenced the world. So that's like a ×2 to that answer.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Joe. All right, Joe, what role has networking played in your life? Maybe a minute or less.
Networking is a fantastic way to expose yourself to the real ideas that are out there and to leverage a relationship. And so to me, I love networking. I have a friend of mine says networking is for amateurs. It's connecting.
Steve Sims, he was on the show.
Steve Sims was there. So Bob Donnell always says it.
Oh, Bob Donnell.
But Bob introduced me to Steve. And so, but Bob always says, networking's for amateurs. But the truth of the matter is, can you connect at a level that's different? And I want to be the one that when you think of, hey, somebody goes, man, my company needs help with the sales. We're just not doing it. I want them to go, oh, Joe is the person to talk to, right? So to me, in my contact, sales genius is in the contact name. That's my last name in the contact, because I want anybody who thinks sales goes to their phone, opens it and goes sales. And when they do, my name pops up. And so they can figure out that that's the place to go. And again, maybe it's you only want to invest in war games. Maybe you don't care about that piece. You just want to do coaching, or you just want to do, I'm training. So if you just want to do one-on-ones, or you want to do, other things, mastermind meetings. So again, what are you trying to accomplish? Do I come up in your mind? And I always look to say, how can I connect people together? And so that's my thought.
Thank you, Joe. That's brilliant. As an extension of this question, is mentoring important? And
Absolutely.
who are some of your mentors? And by the way, when you're calling trainer, are you referring to mentor versus a coach? Basically,
yeah. So to me, like I said, to me, I know I've walked the walk and delivered it, and that's the difference of a trainer, because I'll add accountability where a coach may not. And so a coach likes to talk at you more than where a trainer is going to get there with you and force you to do what you have to do. I tell people all the time, like, you may not like me, but you will on payday. Okay. So when it comes down to that, but so mentoring is absolutely crucial. Thanks to social media. Look at your room on Clubhouse. You can be mentored by people that you would never have the ability to get to.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I look at it all the time. And again, there's certain people based on the 5 different areas of life that you need to go after, right? That you should find a mentor in each one of those. And you should be able to go after it and say, this is the person that I go to for finances. This is the person I go to for fun. The one I do for faith, for family, right? I want to know when I go look at it, do I have somebody that can guide me there? Someone who's been there before that can now say, don't step there, right? I say, when it comes to sales, I tell everybody, I go, look, when it comes to the landmine of sales, because you can do one thing and blow up a whole deal. I said, you want to walk in the footprints that are there before you. It's not about, let me go jump and run over here because there's no footprints. That's probably going to be a mine. Okay. In that minefield. So walk where you can see that there's a path all the way through. And that's what those of us that have done enough to screw up enough can help you with.
Who are some of your mentors, Joe?
So when it comes to connecting, I use books that I shouldn't, that I would never meet the people, but I can go through and say Napoleon Hill has helped me greatly. Sharon Lechter has helped me. I have Bob Donnell is a mentor on connecting with individuals that are there. My health mentor is Dr. Bill Janishak that's there. But I look at it and say, who do I need to reach out to? There's people that I've never interacted with, like Andy Frisella, that is mentoring me and doesn't know who I am. Okay. I've had other mentors. Sam Bakhtiar was there. A lot of these people that I reach out to that I can get to. Sam, rest his soul, he's passed away. But again, he was the fitness guy. He was the guy that was always there. But we called him 7-figure Sam. And so it was always that. So when he calls and goes, hey, I just opened my 168th gym, and I want to know, how do I maximize for the franchisees now? How do we do this? And he calls me, and I'm like, see, it's a mutual mentoring, right? And I think that's where you're really going to level up, is that when your mentors ask you for the assistance in the area that you're in. And so.
That's
what I
brilliant. And by the way, Joe, just to tie another knot back to Clubhouse. So Friday when you came on stage, Bob Donnell came on and he
Yes.
sent me a message afterwards. I didn't know who he was, so I would have invited him up to the stage. But and then he sent me a message. I looked into him like, well, this guy's a legend.
Oh yeah, yeah. But
But
we laugh in our circle. We laugh because we say everybody's connected to Kevin Bacon in 7 degrees, but they're connected to Bob in 4. So Bob's got everybody in his phone. Yeah.
This is crazy, and this just is a testimony to Clubhouse. This is how I met so many people. They come on through somebody else, or it's like an interactive, like you said, an interactive podcast or radio show, with the door always open. People can keep coming in, so you never know who's going to walk in your show. I mean, I've met so many people, like Ivan Meisner, the head of BNI. I mean, he came in one day. I didn't know who he was. Everyone pointed him out to me. Next thing you know, he's on the podcast, on the show, and now we're friends. Like it's just such a great networking, going back to networking opportunity to meet people and connect. Yeah. So,
but and let me also throw out too, because this is what you're great at, is taking the networking and connecting outside. Right. That's what I tell everybody. Like I'm in some mastermind groups and I go into the group and it's only to meet the people that this person brings in.
Yeah.
Right. So I look and go, well, now I have a doorway in to meet this other person that could be my next mentor, that could be my next guest, could be somebody that I can get value from and provide value back. And so that's why I participate in that mastermind, not because I believe that person can bestow so much information, because we've had a similar path. But maybe they're in a different industry, and now I can get access to someone I never would have known. That kind of thing. So
yeah, absolutely. Being open-minded, I think, is the key to the Clubhouse. I'm looking at the bottom of the room. I'm looking for people when no one else is looking at. I'm looking at the bottom of the stage. I want to see who's here. I mean, there could be like and I've found Super Bowl like champions and football all-star. I mean, just like people, singers, musicians, famous celebrities, especially in the beginning, with 5 million followers plus outside of Clubhouse. They might have 10 followers on Clubhouse and no one knows who they are. They're like, you only have 10 followers. Yeah, but I got 5 million also.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. A few more questions. We're almost done, Joe. What are your favorite financial books, if any? Maybe 20 seconds. This includes investing, money, business. I know you already mentioned Think and Grow Rich. So any other ones?
So to me, Exit Rich, Sharon Lechter's newest book that's out there, that one woke me up. Of course, The Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I was just listening to Kiyosaki on my way down here to the client today, going through. But that's, to me, those are the ones that's the core. You got to start with your foundation and then move forward.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. And do we need money to survive?
Yeah, money's right up there with oxygen. That's there. You know, you can say,
That's true.
yeah,
Very true.
Whether you love it or not is irrelevant, right? It's something that's necessary. And so you got to find some way to exchange. Money is energy, right? And then the amount of money you accumulate is based off of the energy you put out that comes back. So what kind of value do you put out energetically to get the money back in from there?
Thank you, Joe. As an extension of that question, is finance necessary? The science of finance.
Absolutely. Again, the answer is that you can put all the ingredients on the table. Doesn't mean a cake is coming out of it, right? And we don't know what you're going to make, and it could just be something horrible. The point of finance is to say you understand the leveraging of money. You understand how to utilize money and how to properly grow money in that way. And again, that's something that's not taught in this nation. So.
Yeah, not enough.
Right.
Right.
Well, it requires you to go seek it.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but we will tell you that if you cut a worm in half, it'll grow 2 different ones, because that'll help you someday.
Yeah. Right. All right. Thank you, Joe. How important is having a purpose in business, and what is your purpose? Maybe 1 minute.
Yeah. So again, my purpose is my overall goal is when I train somebody, there's that moment when the spark in their eye changes. And I know I've changed them forever. And so all of a sudden they just go, oh, and I'm like, done, got it. right? So my overall purpose is leaving the planet better than it was when I was here, leaving the people that I interact with better than what's here. And I've just found sales is the easiest way to do that, because everybody's a salesperson, whether they admit it or not. Okay. And so if everybody's a salesperson and sales is necessary, and the better you are at sales, I know I can create the largest impact in your life by helping you understand that or get better at it.
And having a purpose is definitely important, especially.
Oh, absolutely. Well, what else are you getting up for in the morning? Right.
Right. Going to make money. That's my purpose.
Right. Yes. What are you going to do with it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So the answer is, what's the intent and the use of the tool called money? Right. And so making it is great to do what? To save it. Right. But again, if money flows through you, then you never have an issue with money.
Thank you, Joe. Two more questions left. What would you like to accomplish in the next 10 years or so, and why?
10 years, I'd like to have everything that's in my head out virtually for people to get and build that legacy engine that's there. And then by the time I'm done, I would love to be able to just hand the business down to the family and have them understand everything that needs to be done. So basically, generational wealth is my ultimate goal. So,
and basically, if you look at your career as the story you unfolded today, you are, now that you're in your personal brand, you're extrapolating all that knowledge, and that's why you're starting to go into the digital area more.
Absolutely.
So, right?
Yeah,
because this is very different than what you were doing 5 years ago.
Correct. Oh, absolutely. Again, what I'm looking for is no longer exchanging time for money. Okay. So when I look at, even when you get contracted to say, hey, here's this much money, come do a talk, it's still time for money. And so the more I can digitize everything I have, then, I go to sleep, I make money. I wake up, I'm making money. Whatever I'm doing is independent of the cash flow stream. And that's what I look for.
I hear Sharon Lechter coming out of you. You're not making money, Tony, until you're making money while you sleep.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And everybody's told it. It's who says it enough for you to resonate with it that it hits home. Yeah. And Sharon's that person. She's such good people.
Yeah, absolutely. My mentor, she's one of the best. Thank you, Sharon, for all you've
Thank
done.
you, Sharon. Love to you.
All right, last question. What would you like to be and this is your question, your legacy to this world? You said it already, but can you summarize that for us? What would you like to be your legacy? If you're looking at your tombstone and you want to make sure it says exactly what you want people to read when you leave this planet, like exactly to the table, what would you say?
He taught me how to laugh my way to the bank.
I like that.
That's it. I want humor in everything that I do, and I want humor in everybody else's life because it helps with the magic, right? And I just want everybody going, man, if he hadn't made me laugh and see this about myself and change this, I never would have amassed this much money. Because again, and it's not always just about money, it's what the money can be used for, right? What can you do with the money, and what could you do if you could buy back all your time? But I generally want it to be fun, and I want it to be entertaining, and I want you to laugh all the way to the bank.
That's a brilliant point. Thank you, Joe. All right, Joe, we're going to conclude now. I want to first thank you so much for being here. It's an honor to have you. Honor to share so many stages with you on Clubhouse. Finally, a year plus in the making got you here, and I'm just very, very pleased to have you here. And what a great discussion we had today. I appreciate your stories. I'd like to leave the floor to you to share anything you like. If you want to tell us about your new projects, your books, anything you want to tell us about, the floor is yours, Joe.
Here's what I want everybody to understand. If I resonated with you, I'd say reach out. Okay. I'm one of these people that protects my time as much as I can. And so to me, again, I'd rather you went out, felt out what it is Joe does. I think, Doc has done a wonderful job of bringing out stuff out of me that's out here. You get a really good idea. But I would say, seriously, go to the YouTube channel. It's Ingram Interactive. If you go to thegeniuslinks.com, thegeniuslinks.com has everything about me on social, everything that's out there. There's free stuff there. I would say go there and watch a couple of the videos and see if it's something. There's a calendar link there too. If you want to drop into my calendar, understand it's pretty booked, okay, all the time. But again, I just want you to look out there and say, if it's worth for you, I'll make it time for me, because you can listen to everybody out there. I'm friends with a lot of the sales trainers that are out in the industry today, regardless of the industry of the actual product or arena that they sell in, but find the one that matches to you. I may not be it. So if I may not be it, but you heard something here, go find that person that you can resonate with and get it done so that you can move forward. But overall, guys, every time two people meet, someone is sold. And it took me a long time to understand that. Most of the time, it's because somebody's selling you the story of why they're where they're at now. So they're trying to tell you, look, the reason I'm not a millionaire is because of this, this, and this, and because of my childhood, and because, you know, little Bobby kicked me on the swing in 3rd grade. Otherwise, I'd be a professional soccer player, right? They're going to go tell you all of the story, and all they're doing is waiting for you to nod. And when you nod, they go, oh, good, you bought into it. So everybody's selling. It's whether or not you profit from it. And I'm going to tell you right now, stop selling your story to people and go write it. Because it's just painful watching people give excuses all day long, looking for people to buy into the line of BS as to why they are where they're at in this world today. So that's me.
That is incredible. Thank you, Joe. Joe, where can they find out more information about your website, your social media website?
Everything is thegeniuslinks.com. Like I said, I want it to be as easy as possible. If you went to thejoeingram.com, that's a website of mine too. But overall, I would say go to thegeniuslinks.com, and that will show you everything you can find, and me anywhere you can find me on the web is all there. It's just my home address is
over the web. I keep finding Joe's name pops up everywhere. Like, and we had this discussion, I think 2 weeks ago. I was like, yeah. Joe, why every time you're like, you keep seeing my name? I'm like, yeah.
And I don't pay for ads. Think about that. Yes, it's all about that. But what can you play with? But again, I'm in a mastermind that shows me how to build my online presence so that I can build it that way.
And you do a great job with that. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. And by the way, folks, Joe is coming to Clubhouse. So he'll be there Friday, August 5th.
6th, 5th?
5th, yeah, between 7 and 9 p.m. Eastern time. And that's roughly, you know, sometimes it might start a little later because there's a dance to build in that room. But there is. And the room's about 6 hours long, too. It goes to about midnight. So you definitely can check that out if you have time. And that's Clubhouse. That's August 5th, 2022. If you're listening to this 1,000 years in the future, you missed it. But you get to listen to this great podcast. So
it's true. And by then, you could download the Dr. Finance app and go back and search the archives of all the rooms. Yes.
Yeah, by that time, you'll be downloading our brains. So we're not worried about it.
Yeah. It's a digital version of both of us right now. You can go talk to live. Yeah.
This is all hologram. Yes. All right, thank you, Joe. Appreciate that.
My pleasure.
And yeah, folks.
Thank you, Tony.
So definitely check that out, folks. And Joe, if you can hang on just 1 second, I'll walk you out. I want to conclude, folks. You've been watching the Dr. Finance Live podcast. It's Dr. Anthony Criniti IV. Here's my website, drfinance.info. I'll put the podcast it's on there, but it'll be on YouTube. It'll be all over the main podcast directories, about 20 plus. You can check that out there. Also, if you want to get more information about myself, drfinance.info. And then don't forget to check out Joe's website. And real quickly, folks, so I have my 3 books on the shelf here, The Necessity of Finance. I wrote that over 10 years ago as a university professor. That was an overview of finance for my finance students at the time. But as you know, as Joe was talking about, when you put the pen to the paper, magic things happen. I actually discovered a lot more than I thought I knew, which led to my second book, The Most Important Lessons in Economics and Finance. And finally, in my thick 500 plus page book, Survival of the Richest, which basically has changed finance and economics the way we think of it. And that's my mission, to really help to eradicate financial literacy and change the way we think about economics and finance. With that said, folks, I thank you so much for being here. Definitely like, subscribe, follow, all that cool stuff Joe talked about earlier. Let's do it. Thumbs up. And we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks again, everyone. Dr. Finance, sign off. Thank you, Joe.
Appreciate you, Tony.